We got a big show.
Yeah, yo.
We got a big show today.
Yes, we do.
We only 2/3 though.
Yeah. We missing H Boogie today, but that's just she had to call in sick. She had a situation, but she'll be back.
She didn't call in sick. She had a
she had a situation.
Situation.
Yeah, she had a situation. So
so we got some good stuff on tap. We didn't get to recap yesterday's NBA games on the panel earlier today because you know what I find that hour. I'm glad we went back to those Tuesdays, that longer show on Tuesdays, because that hour seems to go by. Like I looked up today and it was 101.
Yeah,
and I said, "That's what like 5 minutes." I felt like we were talking for 5 minutes.
Well, when it's a bunch of us, Tony, we get the yapping, especially if we get the yapping about one thing and we all have a difference of opinion, then it turns into.
Feel like we had a difference. I feel like I had a difference of opinion and everybody else. I felt like Ticket versus the world. Today. I felt like everybody was against me today.
No,
including the chat. The chat has turned on me.
No, Tony, because I was with you. I'm not a fan of the play-in tournament. I'm not. I want to make sure that we 100% clear on that. I'm not a fan of the play-in tournament. I don't like it at all. I think it's awarding mediocrity and. I am not a fan of the play-in tournament. I've said this countless times to you. We already have a play-in tournament. You got 82 games to get into the playoffs. If you can't get into the playoffs after 82 games, you are not a playoff team. I stand on that. If you are a 10th place team and it's a week before the season ends and you are 3 games out, you are not a playoff team.
Well, it's funny because in the chat after not the chat, in the comments after the episode today, and I'll tell you everything else we're going to talk about. But in the comments, they were like, well, what about this scenario? And what about that scenario? And what about if this? And I said, yes, sure. There are instances where, hey, you're half a game back or a game back and you're 9th. Man, that sucks. I get it. But isn't that what you want? Right. But I said, but what about the times when there's a 29 win team? Okay, I won't use the 25 because that was a shortened seated. But there's a 33 win team. 33 means you're 9 games below or 8 games below 500. Like that's not, or no, 9 games. 9 games below 500. You shouldn't be in no play-in. You should not. You shouldn't be in the playoffs.
You should not.
So it's just everyone tries to pick these scenarios. It's like, you know what it reminds me of? Just right now when the NBA turned to the and they announced the 65 games for all NBA.
Yep.
And I forget who it was. It was this guy on TikTok, and I replied to his thing. But he says, so what if Joel Embiid plays 64 games and he's done everything better than, and I forget the example. I forget the example, but he goes, he's done everything better than Giannis, but Giannis played 65 games. So now Giannis gets in and he doesn't. And I'm like, yeah,
that's the way that works.
Yes, because you know what? If you only play 57 games and you scored 35 points a game, don't count. That's how it is already. No one's complaining about that.
Right.
But, and I always use the opposite side of thing, right? Because I said, well, hold on. But what about guys like Pippen's the easiest example because it's top of mind. 44 games in an 82 game season, and he was all NBA and all NBA first team defense.
Missed almost
half the season. And that's half the season. It's not to say he wasn't even an all-star. It's not to say if he played 82 games that he wouldn't have been those things. Right. He might have been if he played 70 games, whatever.
Right.
But it's a lot easier to do something for 40 games than it is for 80 games. It just is.
That is a fact. And I think that what it also does when you're playing that much, Tone, what it also does is it stamps your durability and it stamps you being a pro, because part of being a pro is showing up. That's very much part of being a pro. So if you're not going to show up, or you're only going to show up when you feel like it, or when you're quote unquote available, I mean, that's not being a pro. I don't think so. So when we talk about 65 games, guys are going to play a lot more than 65 games, Tony. And you want to know why? They're going to play 65 games or more because they're going to start seeing guys like Jalen Brunson on the all-pro team, and guys like Damian Lillard and guys like that are going to miss out. They're going to see guys like
guys they know that they're better at that. Let's just be honest. Guys that they know I'm better than him.
They're going to start seeing guys like
years, They're going to remember that Jalen Brunson made the All-NBA team over me. No, I can't let that happen.
And that's going to be a problem. That's going to, because he played 68 games, and you got to go, wait a minute, I'm better than him. What is he doing on the All-Pro team? Why is this dude on the All-Pro team? So it's very similar tone to Jameis Winston making the Pro Bowl, or Mac Jones making the Pro Bowl. Like, these guys step off, and then you see Mac Jones on the Pro Bowl, and you're like, well, wait a minute, what is Mac Jones doing on the Pro Bowl? Well, he's in the Pro Bowl because this guy didn't want to play. Well, it's not that situation here. Nah, you don't want to play.
Let's not go there, because Tyler Huntley made the Pro Bowl this year. So that's another issue we got to deal with. Shout out to the Black Basketball channel with Zen Master for becoming a member. Don't forget, you could become a member of Player's Choice by clicking the link that I just hid, because my computer's running damn slow. Become a member right there. You see the link. You know where to find it. You can also become a GOAT member, like the guy scrolling at the bottom of your screen. There's my pitch. There's my commercial. I did some commercials before we jump into. Oh, let me tell you what we're talking about. So we're going to recap yesterday's 2 games. So Bulls, Raptors, Pelicans, and Thunder / Supersonics. We have a special guest, as you know, Cynthia Frelund from the NFL Network. We're going to come in and we're going to talk about the NFL draft, where I think we're going to meet her new dog. That's what's actually got me most excited. We're going to talk some NFL, some players on the move. I'm hoping I can pull out some fantasy advice too. And then we're going to do, and then when she goes, I'm going to ask her who the GOAT of the NBA is. I don't know if she has a pick, but let's see if I can squeeze it out of her too. First NBA, we're going to do the first round of the NBA matchups. Obviously, we're going to answer your super chats. And then we're going to invite you guys on the show and see what you got to say.
Yeah, we're going to talk some numbers. We're going to talk some numbers with Cynthia and
analytics over everything.
Yeah, we're going to talk some numbers. I'm feeling that. I am. I got some good insight. Not just some good insight. I'm interested in her logic on numbers. I'm really interested in that, Tone, because I wasn't a numbers guy. I wasn't.
The more I think about it, this is where I'm going here. So listen, hear me out. Every time we have a debate, and I feel like I was going to talk about something else first, but whatever. Every time we have a debate, every time we talk, we accuse certain people of basketball reference and don't look up your notes. But guess what? What do every single one of us do when we have a debate? Well, we always say, well, this guy did this. Because their production matters. We say, oh, well, they were 30, 15, and 6 for 7 years. And they did it. I've never heard a debate where someone didn't bring up analytics in some way, shape, or form. I've never heard, did you watch, Bob Smith play? Because did you watch Kobe play? Because when you watch Kobe play, and when you watch, I shouldn't have used Kobe, let me use somebody different. When you watch Magic play and you watch John Stockton play, some people do this. Look at that. Magic was much more appealing.
Right.
Magic was much more appealing to watch. And so he's a significantly better player. Well, how do you make that? So my eye might see something different than yours.
Right.
And I always fight with people on that because the eye test. But if you don't know what you're looking for.
Right.
I'll give you another example. There was a dude, I forget his name, but there was a dude that played in my high school. He was a senior when I was a freshman. And the next year he went to play, I want to say at Michigan State. I feel like it was Michigan State. So we took a trip. We took a trip and we went to Michigan State. All I saw was him setting screens. That's all. Now he's a freshman, don't forget. Right. And he was a power forward, right? And all I saw him screen. I'm like, dude, like this dude was like our top scorer. Like he could handle the pill. Like he could do everything. Setting screens, that's all he did. And if I watched him, I'd say he stinks. He doesn't stink. No. He was in a situation where, hey, you're a freshman. Your job as a freshman is come off the bench and set screens. That's your job. Unless you're, there's exceptions, but you know what I'm saying. And it was just like my eye test would have told me that he stunk.
Right.
He didn't stink.
Well, and we're gonna get into this, but the eye test is not enough, man. It's just not. No. It's not enough. Nope. Just like numbers just aren't enough. No, it's a we're going to get into that, guys.
Yeah. I want to look at a couple of things. I got the first round. I got some mock draft for the NFL. I've got, like I said, I got some players that I want to kick out and see. What else do we want to talk about today? We're gonna do the first round.
We are going to talk about the first round of the playoffs, how Sacramento and Golden State are basically shutting Northern California down. Like, we got a playoff series between the Dubs, the defending NBA champs, and the Kings, who haven't been in the playoffs in 17 years, and they're doubling their ticket prices. I don't even know if I should have even mentioned that, but so what? They are doubling their team's ticket prices.
Yeah.
Like,
gotta get that paid for.
The nerve of the Sacramento Kings, you dudes have been out of business, and you basically reopen the store, and now you're gonna double prices. You just reopen the store back up, and now you're gonna double prices because you can. I can get with that. Sure, I can get with that.
What when you say let me oh wait, you know what? I just saw something new. Is this oh man. You guys can't see this. I'm real excited right now. So I can undo this. Is that correct? Can I undo this? I'll explain to you. You guys all think I'm crazy right now. Let me just see here. Super chat. Look at that. Okay, so you guys don't know.
Shut the front door.
Shut the front door. So on my screen, right, it used to have the comments as they come in. From the show, just like the live, which you can't keep up with because it's going fast. And then every time there was a super chat, I had to star it, and it put it into a separate little a separate tab. And I always had to and if I missed one, because again they go so fast, which we try not to, but occasionally we miss one, I'd miss it, and then you can't find it again. Forget it, it's gone, right? Well, now there's a new tab called Super Chat, and the second a super chat comes in, it goes straight into that tab.
So you don't have to do that.
I have to do nothing.
There you go.
JD, thank you, my brother.
My man.
Yes, I love that. We have about listen, she's supposed to be here about 9:15, 9:30. I don't know if she's on her time, if she's on Shaq time. Because Shaq 9:15. All right, see you about 10:30. Let me ask you a question. I probably should do this off. I shouldn't do this when I'm live, but I'm gonna ask you a question right now. So I was talking to, I don't know if I should say, I don't want to name drop. I was talking to someone who has a very nice basketball court in the Toronto area. He is a celebrity. Saw our episode with Shaq. Knows that Shaq loves coming up to Toronto. And asked for you actually and Shaq if he happens to be up here for Caravana weekend in the summer. If he wants to swing by his house and play a little ball.
Sounds like a plan. I'm down for it. Anybody that got a basketball court in their house, if you want me to come through and knock down a couple 15-footers, I can still do that. I can't do a lot of the other stuff that I used to be able to do, but I can still knock down the mid-range. I can still do that.
Yeah, we were having as you guys know, on June 17th here in Toronto, I'm doing a shoe drive, and through a friend of a friend's, right? We're getting some people, like we were, Masai Ujiri is going to help us out with Giants of Africa, the Raptors, the 905. They're all going to be kind of part of this charity shoe drive that we're doing. More details to follow. And that's one of the, celebrities that is endorsement. They're not going to be there, not going to do anything. But I said as a joke, I go, oh, it'd be so funny to see these two play a little one-on-one. Maybe Shaq can post them up. So that would be really that's viral video right there. And so I said I meant to ask you, I was going to text you and ask you, but why not? Let's air our laundry out here in front of everybody.
Put it out there.
All right. So I don't know, like I said, if she's on Shaq time or if she's on regular time. So I say let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
We have a couple of super chats. Do we want to do the super chats, or do you want to recap yesterday's games first?
Let's recap yesterday's games first.
I want to recap yesterday's game first. Okay, let's start with the one that'll keep my blood from boiling. Let's start with New Orleans Pelicans and OKC.
Right. So
just the game. Yeah, we're not going to talk about Zion and all that. No. Just what you saw in the game last night.
Here's the thing that you can do, Tone. When you are preparing for a team, so for example, your Lakers, when we had Shaq and we had Kobe, right? So we're prepared for these guys and their production. We're probably going to have to eat that, whatever it is. We're going to have to eat whatever Shaq brings. We're going to have to eat whatever Kobe brings. What you're not prepared for, Tone, is you're not prepared for Robert Horry to go off for 30. You're not prepared for Derek Fisher to go off for 30. And that's what happened yesterday. So whenever you get a New Orleans squad who has one of the better defenders in the league in Herb Jones, who did a really good job early, right? He did a really good job early and late on SGA. SGA, the bulk of his stuff came in the second and third quarter. He did a really good job on him early, picking him up full court, throwing him off rhythm, keeping the ball away from him. He did a really good job on him early. The problem that New Orleans had was Oklahoma City got 89 points from 3 of their starters. You're not prepared for that. So no matter what else you do, you're not prepared for those two. I mean, we're talking about a guy in Lou Dort. These are how many 25-point games he had this season, Tone. These many. He had 27. Yeah, these are how many 25-point games he had this year. He had 27 yesterday. I think he shot 4 for 6 or 4 for 8, something like that, on the long ball. When he's going like that, not only when he's going like that, Josh Giddey, who makes the game, he makes the game look so simple. The thing that I appreciate about Josh Giddey, which is what he did yesterday when he got CJ McCullough on him, he makes the game so simple. If I'm open, I'll shoot. If you're open, I'm going to get you the basketball. It's that simple. There is no extracurricular nonsense with Josh Giddey's game. He's going to get you the basketball if you're open. I don't think he's sneaky athletic, Tone, more than I think he's an athlete. He's 6'8", and he's a really smart basketball player. He knows what spaces to play in. He knows where to play. He knows how to be effective. And I thought he took advantage a lot of CJ McCollum when CJ was on him, particularly in transition. Lou Dort, on the other hand, he did the same thing. Like, they basically told him that we're gonna eat you shooting the 3-pointer. We'll eat that, no problem. And he said, okay. And again, they weren't prepared for that. And I think that was the straw that broke the camel's back with them. I mean, we talk about what they did late. We talk about what Brandon Ingram did. Like I said, Lou Dort was making it as difficult as he possibly could on him. But I thought that Lou Dort, his production, him being able to knock down the long ball, stretch the defense, and make those guys defend. Because what happens when he makes those guys defend, particularly Herb Jones. Now, Herb Jones has to switch on to him, because he's already slowed down SGA. So now he's got to switch on to him, which now gets SGA going. And then when SGA starts to get going, he switches back on to him. So it was a combination of things yesterday that I was watching. And Tony, I won't sit here and tell you that I do, because I don't watch a lot of Oklahoma City games. But from what I watched, I'm becoming more and more of a fan of Josh Giddey. I just am. I
remember when he was a rookie. Mm-hmm. I remember when he was a rookie, and we both were like, "Who is this guy?"
For real, like,
we had no idea who he was. And last night he drops 27. No, what did he do? 31, 10, and 9.
Yes, and it was simple, Tone. Like, understand, it wasn't like it was a tough. It was drives to the basket, stop and pull up, stuff like that. It was real simple stuff. He didn't do a lot of extracurricular stuff, especially when he got switched on to CJ. He completely went after him. He absolutely did.
You got 59 points from Canada. SGA and Lou Dort with 59 points. You can't lose. You can't lose when Canada drops 59 on you. I want to talk more about OKC and New Orleans, and we're going to talk about Chicago and Toronto. But I feel like we should transition into a little football, because very good friend, long time. I haven't seen her in so long, so it's gonna be good to catch up a little bit. I told her she better bring her dog, so we're gonna check and see.
That's kind of part of it.
She's in trouble now. So from the NFL Network, among other places, we talk. When people joke about math skitball. Well, this is the one who loves math skitball.
Yeah.
Cynthia Frelund.
Okay,
how are you?
Holding on to this carrot. Now he was on. He's got his giant carrot, and come here. And I want you to see. He's the cutest. His name is 40.
I want to know who this is. When did he join the family? Because
look at this dude right here. What's up, brother?
He loves a good camera moment.
What's up, brother?
I rescued him in November. It was a little unexpected. One of my coworkers volunteered at the rescue that was trying to find a home for him, and she showed me his picture, and I was like, I'll just get some information. And then I met him, and it was curtain.
Cynthia Jermaine Cynthia.
Hello, Cynthia.
I'm a terrible host. It's good to see you again. How's everything going?
Good to see you.
L host. I know. So we were talking some basketball, but we're going to transition into some football. And I wanted to start with I forget the dog's name already. What's the dog's name? Gordy?
Yeah, like Gordie Howe.
Like Gordy. Is it after Gordie Howe, or is that really? Are you a hockey player?
Tone?
I am. I'm from Michigan. That's what we got.
You left Michigan.
You can take the girl out of Michigan. You can't take the Michigan out of the
All
girl.
right, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. No, because I was saying, I just all of a sudden, Gordy pops up out of nowhere, and I'm seeing like on your stories. I'm like, where did this dog come from?
I'm like a psycho about him. I really love him a lot. I'm like truly like obsessed with my dog. I'm one of those people, and I'm okay with it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Dogs over people is actually a shirt we need to make if it doesn't exist already. All right, so how you want to jump? I know Jay has some questions. We're gonna do some NFL draft. He's a Niners fan, so I know he's gonna ask you some Niners stuff. You know me and my Bears obsession, so we're gonna talk a little bit about my Bears. Yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Cynthia, I wasn't a numbers guy when it comes to analytics. I thought it was nerdy. I thought it was an invasion of the game. I thought that people would just look at it and then completely forget about the game. They would just go to the numbers. But then I started looking at the numbers. And then what it would do is it would make me pay attention more to the game. So wait a minute. James in the mid-range, he doesn't shoot it as well on the left side as he does on the right side. Rudy Gobert, well, he doesn't rebound in the fourth quarter as well as he does in the second quarter. So I'm starting to pay more attention now, not just to the numbers. I'm now starting to pay attention to the game also. I think it's really interesting that I'm becoming more of a fan of this.
I like that. I like to hear that. I think like if you're doing it right, no good analytics professional in any sport is going to tell you it. You're not trying to change or disrupt the game. You're actually, in many ways, you're trying to make it more efficient, in a lot of ways safer. That's not really my domain as much, but a lot of the advancements in analytics around performance and around all the safety stuff have made people far less likely to be injured. So there's a lot of things that it does. That's not just this analytics word gets thrown out like very, very like, you hear it in broadcast. Well, the analytics say to go for it or whatever. And that's largely not like most of the people I know who actually do analytics are like, what are they even talking about? Like, so it's lost kind of its meaning, but all it is a tool in a tool belt to be able to make better decisions. And I think everyone wants to make better decisions to try to win and get yourself an edge. Sure.
So I also wanted to ask you, because you brought up the numbers. So we're in an age now where, the quarterback has always been valid. We always cared about the quarterback. We always cared about paying the quarterback. We cared about the quarterback being safe. Well, we did that with the running back too. But over the last 15 years, I'm doing some homework and I'm thinking to myself, Cynthia, what happened to the running back? So over the last 15 years, seven of those years, a quarterback has been taken. A running back has been taken one time or 0 times in the first round. 3 times it's been 0 times a running back has been taken, right? And 4 times it's been once. What happened to the running back? Because I'm of the age of the guy that's going to run for you for 10 years. I'm of the age of Walter Payton and Barry Sanders and that guy. Now he's become obsolete. What happened to him?
Well, there's a couple of things. First, a lot of kids who are playing at lower levels when the running back position was, getting a lot more hits and more, it was a more dangerous position. Then a lot of those kids who were playing running back actually switched to play linebacker. So you saw a lot more safeties and linebackers and fewer running backs. And then that had the net effect of sort of changing how the college game is played. You'll see now the college game, the running back is you rarely see, like last year we actually saw it with Michigan State, and then he's out in Seattle now. But ultimately, you don't really see that you don't see as many of those like bell cow running backs with like 2,000 yards in college. You don't see anyone even close, right? That's a little bit of exaggeration, but it's you don't see that anymore. The game is played significantly differently, and same thing at the NFL level, because it's supply and demand. All you have are the guys coming out of college, so you kind of reflect some of the trends in the college game. And the running back position, it's really been found that it's a longevity thing. Like the first round stuff, I think the back half, we'll see when this year. Bijan Robinson out of Texas, I would be shocked if he weren't a first round pick. But you don't want to pick him too high because of the way that the rookie pay scale makes everyone get paid. But you also, it's really about not over-signing them on a second contract and not overpaying on a second contract that's influencing what happens with the first contract. So you'll see more running backs. Your team, if you're a Niners fan, I mean, they pick running backs just out of the sky and kind of make them work in that system. So ultimately they know what they're looking for. They use a lot of analytics at the 49ers, and they know what kind of guys they're looking for, body types, the types of resumes they have in college, and they make it work as opposed to focusing on one. There just aren't those guys coming out of college as often as they used to. And you'll notice there's more longer term linebackers and safeties, just like parents choosing their kids. I'm not entirely sure all of the reasons, but that's kind of the change in the college game sparked the change in the NFL too.
Oh, because I want my kid giving the hit versus taking the hit.
I mean, it does. Yeah, that does make sense.
Like people think that'll make it better, but I think if either way, it's gonna. Yeah, absolutely.
So, Cynthia, are we saying that the guys like Derrick Henry are far and few between, and it's more of guys like the running back out of Texas coming out today? So those are more of the guys that we're going to see as opposed to guys like Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, the guys like Derrick, to me, when you say Derrick Henry, the first thing I think was, remember coming out of Alabama, Derrick Henry. So Derrick Henry and Ezekiel Elliott were in the same draft class. And coming out of Alabama, you saw Derrick Henry have just so many yards. There was a lot of tread on the tires, and he rarely caught passes. Well, now a modern running back, it's all about play action. That is what the formula for success for newer quarterbacks has been. You need to catch passes. Derrick Henry has added the pass catching element to his game, although it's been secondary. It wasn't the bread and butter of what we saw coming out of Alabama. He's folded it in more recent seasons, but you don't really see that very often. I guess Jonathan Taylor coming out of Wisconsin wasn't really as much of a pass catcher. You know, you have guys who they adapt, but if they can't adapt, then you need a multi-use running back in order to really see it's rare that you'll see a guy with just all the rushing yards and not a lot of pass catches.
I want to jump into the draft because now you did mention Robinson. Every mock draft I see has him going, I mean, anywhere from like 10 to 25. Yeah. Have you done your mock? I should have checked. Have you done your mock?
Yeah, I've done a bunch, and it's all invalid now because Jeff Okuda got I mean, they're all.
You got to do 1.0, 2.0.
We're at 2 right now. I think I have one more I have to do, but it's silly. It's not silly, but it's in 5 minutes it changes because we still don't know what the compensation will be for Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of things that are still quite unknown. So it's fair that Bijan Robinson has like such a huge range. I don't see him falling past 26 in the Cowboys, but it could be a lot higher.
Well, yeah, because he could if Eckler, I guess Eckler's going to make a decision too here, right? If the Chargers move from Eckler, maybe they pick him up, and the Chargers have the 21st pick. I want to say 20th or 21st. Let me double check. The 21st pick. That might make sense, right? So, but if you were to based on yours today, where do you have him going and why?
So for me, the Chargers really need to address some things on their defense. Or even add to me, this is an interesting draft because there could be more tight ends taken in the first round than wide receivers, which I can't remember the last time that's happened. There are some pretty special potential tight ends in this class, and not the wide receivers more are like flavors, other than Jackson Smith and Jigba are pretty much kind of like flavors, not just necessarily like day one, like going to be great. Like it's more specific roles is how I see it. So maybe the Chargers look at one of those special tight ends. I mean, Michael Mayer would really fit their style really well. Coming out of Notre Dame, he's a great blocker, great pass catcher. He could line up in the slot and take some of the pressure off of what Keenan Allen and Mike Williams have going on. There's a lot of good things going on there. And I think they figure Austin Eckler out. I don't know. The market for a high paid running back just isn't there right now. So I'm not sure how it all nets out, but the Chargers have a lot of different options, and that one's interesting.
Cynthia, I'm sorry, Tom. Keep going, Tom. I'm sorry. Cynthia, you brought up analytics and you brought up the numbers. Why does everybody love Bryce Young and they don't love Stetson Bennett? Because when I look at the numbers and I look at the height, I look at the throwing arm, I look at the yards per game, they're pretty even. This is not something where it's just like this. So I'm thinking, why is everybody in love with Bryce Young and not Stetson Bennett?
It's a good question. So the thing that is interesting about Bryce Young, you're always going to get the Alabama bump. I mean, it'd be very hard to argue that the guy who played the hardest schedule is not Bryce. I mean, that is the hardest one of the, guys at the top of the class. So
Right.
the first is, the Nick Saban proof of concept, boop, rubber stamp him for that, right? It's worked well with Jalen Hurts, Tua Tagovailoa, like that feels safer and more accessible. And that is a harder resume. It's interesting because, you see all these, like, I think part of the knock on Stetson Bennett, really, you've seen, because he's played so many years, you've seen a lot of inconsistencies. And we are in the end of the like COVID bubble NIL situation where you get really, like, the data is really messy, because ultimately there were these years where they were meeting on Zooms and like, who knows how people learn. And then you were trying to translate that to the field. And there's just a lot of like I think Tanner McKee out of Stanford is also getting a little bit of that ding for, I think he could be one that's like a nice little gem for someone in a later round. So it's a lot more about like they can map what happened. And by the way, Alabama like didn't close, right? So they had more of the regular college progression for him than some other schools that were more affected by some of the COVID protocols. And then, by the way, NIL there has been less impactful because Alabama speaks for itself, and some of these other guys switching schools and stuff, like that has been a total, in my opinion, nightmare with the transfer portal, like all of that stuff. It's not really Stetson Bennett's problem, but just overall, that's kind of the landscape. So an older player, like, it's wild to me that like Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee, he's 53 weeks younger than Lamar Jackson. That is 1 year.
Wow.
Like, that is a wild situation. And you forget, and you're like, what? Like, this is wild.
Right.
That's crazy. Okay, listen, we got to get to the most important thing. The most important thing that we're ever going to talk about. The 9th pick.
Because it's the Bears, that's why. Because it's the Bears, Cynthia. That's why he want to talk about the Bears, right? He wants to talk about the Bears. So I'm all ears.
Okay. Absolutely. We've so far, let me ask you this first. Been happy with, I know you're not a Bears fan, but we've done pretty good this offseason.
I mean, I went to college with Ryan Poles, and I'm a big, we've been friends for 20 years. So I'm really happy for my friend. I'm not a Bears fan. I lived in Chicago for several years. I mean, Lions, it's just like 2 times a year. I'm like, can we please win? But like, it's not like a vicious rivalry, right? So, Ryan has done a really nice job. I'm pretty sure, like, I don't know if I think the trading down is done. I mean, there's a lot of needs on the team. I think, adding to both they've done offseason has been great, and that gives them leverage in order to create different opportunities at different positions. I think most everybody thinks that if Jalen Carter's there, that, the defensive tackle from Georgia, who has there's some question marks there in terms of character, but, he would, I mean, that is a nasty player. And if he were somehow available there at 9, the middle of that.
Okay, yeah, I feel like if he slips, they have to, right? But let's assume he doesn't. Are you I was thinking if he doesn't slip, it's an offensive lineman, or do you think you're thinking they might trade down again?
I'm hoping that I also went to Northwestern for grad school, and I like Peter Skoronski's game a lot. Now, he kind of has a weird profile. From some people don't like his measurables because he's got shorter arms than he tackles. But if you look at his footwork and his center of gravity, and he went up against some really good talent. Now, I'm not going to pretend Northwestern was good at football last season because they weren't, but he had a lot of great defensive ends that he was charged with covering and tackles, and he did a really nice job. And I think he forecasts to be the guy. I mean, to me, he's probably the most likely to have like the 10-year career of the offensive lineman at the top of this draft. There's, Paris, like there's some good guys as well.
Yeah, Paris Johnson was the other one that I was hearing too.
Yeah, and Paris Johnson obviously went to Ohio State and Justin Fields, and there could be some, but I mean, I would take the best one, and to me, that one's Peter Skoronski.
Cynthia, am I out of line am I loony? I want to make sure that I'm clear. Am I loony if I don't want to give Trey Lance the football, and I think he got to beat Brock Purdy out?
No, I actually think it's always a good thing when you have any form of competition that's real. At this time of year, I think I heard like the Falcons be like, Desmond Ridder is our guy. I'm like, is that true?
Are we sure?
Are we sure? But I think that the Brock Purdy, Trey Lance conversation is actually relevant. And plus, like, I mean, look, Kyle Shanahan has a little bit of like evil genius thing going on. Like everything he says, like remember he said something like, I don't even know if I'm going to be alive on Sunday. And you're like, what? Like,
right. I'm starting to think like, wait a minute, don't say that. Cause hey, chill out, man. We need you.
Like, what do you know? Yeah, no, but I think he means it. And the thing that makes that unit so special is really like all of their players can create so much yards after contact or after the catch that they really don't need to have the most dynamic quarterback possible. They need to have a guy who executes the game plan better than, as good as they need him to. It's not something where they're not asking someone to go out there and throw deep outside the numbers against, like a 6-man blitz. Like that's just not what's happening. So the strategy they put together has been really amenable to both types of, I did the East-West Shrine Bowl last year and Brock Purdy was there and we weren't even talking about him. Obviously, Mr. Irrelevant was where it ended up. But, the fact that he could learn and be shaped and molded so well, so quickly, that says a lot about what they're doing there in San Francisco. It's not to say Brock hasn't done a lot of the work himself, of course, but like this wasn't some guy who everyone was like, oh, Andrew Luck, proverbial number one, going to be a Hall of Famer. No, this is someone who they took a shot on.
He just looked like he was out there looking like y'all should have gave me the ball right from the beginning. Why were y'all even wasting time with these people? Why you should have just gave me the ball right from the beginning? I'm thinking,
when you get to sit back and learn the offense, I think that's an important piece that we're skipping by throwing these guys out there all the time.
Go ahead, Tom.
No, go ahead. I'm reading super chats. I'm seeing which ones are for Cynthia.
Which is also interesting because what Tone just brought up when you talk about sitting behind people. So I think Richardson is the most pro-ready of these quarterbacks. But I do think that he could stand to sit behind somebody for a year, maybe two, because I'm not ready to throw him out there. One of the things that I've noticed when it comes to young quarterbacks, prime example would be the quarterback with the Jets, right? I noticed that more young quarterbacks get ruined more than they get developed. And the reason why is because there's such a demand for these guys to be good right now, when in reality, they're not ready yet. Right. So when I look at a guy like Richardson, I'm thinking to myself, even if we do pick him with the number 4 pick, he's not ready yet. Can we get him groomed where I'd much rather have 2 years of him sitting on the bench or 7 to 8 years and him on the field as opposed to throwing him out there and in 3 years he's gone.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because so if you look at like the trajectory of like Dak Prescott sort of hit the jackpot with it because he got to sit for a little while. Sure, he was asked to come in with on injury circumstances, but it was the best O-line in the league. Ezekiel Elliott was running the air out of the football, and he wasn't asked to throw deep outside the numbers or even outside the numbers for at least like 250 passing attempts, which is really nice. So sometimes that's better. The problem is that some of these teams, like they can't afford to do that. And then if you go back even further and you look at the resume, Anthony Richardson has played very few snaps. So it's a lot of projection with him, and the pluses and minuses of that are, maybe that would make a team more hesitant to take him early on and give him a little bit more time to develop. But it's hard because the pressure for these teams that are picking at the top of the, they need to get quarterback right. They need to figure that out. But a lot of these quarterbacks, they don't get balls. They don't stand under center and they don't get snap out under center. They don't. And that's number one. And then number two, they rarely see zone defense. So you're coming in these 2 safety shells, even Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow. In the beginning, they see 2 safety shells. They don't know what they're looking at. And it's one way a defense has an advantage early on. It's just the way the college game is going. Well, that's the way the resumes are going. Like you're like, Howard, you know something you've never done before, right? Yeah. So at the end of the day, it's all about reps, just like every other job.
So we have a couple of questions for you. Yeah. But first, I want to play a little game.
Oh, game.
I'm going to give you some names.
Okay.
I don't know if I should pull them up. Yeah, I'll pull it up on screen because there's some of the options are there, but I don't think it's a dead giveaway. So I'm gonna say a name. You tell me where you think they're gonna go, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. Aaron, and by the way, you said a lot of good things about the Bears. I feel like there might be a Bears jersey in your future. We might get you on the team here. All right, Aaron Rodgers. Does he end up being a Jet? Does he stay in Green Bay? Does he retire? Is there a wild card team that enters the mix?
Jet. He's a Jet.
He's a Jet.
Yep.
What's the hold up, Cynthia?
Ego. There's two massive egos going. Not Aaron's. Actually, not even Aaron's in this case. It's ego number one of Brian Gutekunst and ego number two of. I don't even think it's. I actually think Joe Douglas doesn't have as much of an ego here, but I think that there's a perception that Green Bay has a lot of leverage here, and I respectfully disagree with that. I don't think they have a lot of leverage. Aaron could retire, and that would cost $90 million against their salary cap. So unless you want to be super petty, that's silly. So I don't. He'll be a Jet.
All right. The next one we got is maybe the $200 million man. I know what the holdup is there. Lamar Jackson.
Raven.
A Raven. Over here, it's suggesting Falcon, Colt, Titan.
Raven. There's no way Odell Beckham Jr. went there. Odell Beckham Jr. went there to play with Lamar Jackson. And it's like when you are negotiating your salary and you're like, okay, well, the salary's not where I need it to be. And their boss is like, is there something else we could do for you that would make you happy? And you're like, I'd like more vacation days. And I'm like, okay, great. And that's what it is. They're bringing in Odell to make him happy, I think, to sweeten the deal so that because it's very hard to pay someone a fully guaranteed contract in this league, period, full stop, because of the way that the cap works and how you have to amortize it, and you forsake a lot. Like the Browns will have a hard time dealing with that Deshaun contract because now then they won't be able to pay a corner or whatever these prime positions are. So Deshaun better be really freaking good, right? So that's the Ravens just won't do that. They're more prudent than that.
And Jermaine, that goes back to the previous question, why they throw these young quarterbacks out there so fast. They need to win when they're on their rookie deals, because once they get paid, it's really hard. Right. I think Patrick Mahomes, who was the fifth highest paid quarterback last year, was the first Super Bowl winning quarterback that was paid in the top 5 in, 20 years, 50 years, something crazy. All right, so he stays. That's kind of boring, but you're probably right. Josh Jacobs.
He's staying.
He's staying too. Oh boy.
He's a Raider.
He's a Raider.
Yep, he's a Raider.
Derrick Henry. I'm just going to skip that one then. Derrick Henry.
I think, the problem that Derrick Henry has is not that he doesn't have value. It's that none of those teams that you have listed there will pay for, the Bills, I don't think they can afford him, the Bills. The Falcons could afford him, but they've got to solve quarterback. So they might need to be saving for that. And I think that actually the Seahawks are in pretty good shape when it comes to running backs. So, I just don't think there'll be a trade partner for the type of equity that he would command in the marketplace.
And the Falcons would absolutely run him into the ground. So let's be clear about that. Yeah. They would run him into the ground.
I'm going to give you these three because I want to get to our viewers' questions. Delvin Cook, Austin Eckler, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Cook who moves? Who's on a different team next year?
To me, I think Cook might be because, number one, the Vikings really don't have a ton of draft picks this year. I think that could be one that moves. He seems unhappy or whatever. I think that's an interesting one. I think Eckler they figure out because Eckler is very beloved by that organization. He's got a really great reputation and Tom Telesco is a very high class individual. So for me, I just don't know. I guess they're at odds, but and I could see of the three you have listed there, I think, there's a lot to be said for it could be a fun one for the Falcons. He feels like that kind of guy, like Terry Fontenot so much. So that would be good. But I don't think the Eagles pony up for him. And I don't think the Jets do either. It's possible, but I think the Jets they got to focus on one big old salary coming their way.
And Hopkins?
I have no idea where he goes. It's definitely, I don't think it's that one's weird to me because it could be, I would probably cross Baltimore off of that list because they just paid so much for OBJ. I doubt Green Bay. It just doesn't feel like something where they would do that to him. I think it's probably, Carolina could be a really nice dark horse in that conversation.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's get to some questions for you. We're going to start with, I don't know who this is. We'll see.
Double P.
Double P, Cynthia. Besides QB, what do you think is the most valuable position? Do you think it's edge or maybe the wide receiver, CB, or something different?
Traditionally, scouts and team makers, they say quarterback, then they say edge or pass rusher, because it doesn't necessarily need to be an edge anymore. It can be like an Aaron Donald interior rusher too. Then they say left tackle. Then they say either wide receiver or corner. They're kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of another. So of those top 5, to me, I would say, it really is. It's becoming increasingly hard to find a left tackle that's not just serviceable. Left tackle has become harder and harder and more scarce to find. If you have one, hold on to him. I do think you need more edge rushers, so that's why there are some, but there tend to be more coming out of college, and teams are now playing exotic fronts, meaning non-base defense, far more often. So to me, that left tackle, though, so it probably goes quarterback, left tackle for me, and then rusher from wherever.
Thank you. Jake Thomas wants to know, can we talk about Anthony Richardson hype? I'm not buying it. 54% completion percentage in college, which is terrible.
Which, by the way, before you go any further, Cynthia, it's 51 when he's throwing passes 25 or more. When he's throwing the ball 25 or more times, it actually goes down to 51.
Look, it's a lot of people try to compare him to Cam Newton, and that to me that doesn't really work for me. To me, I think he has some traits of Carson Wentz in a good way. By the way, people forget that he's that's a good thing to say. It's not like a mean thing to say. There are some interesting notes on him. He's a great athlete and he's very moldable. The number of snaps is so low. I really don't think we have a really good sample of him yet. What people are buying into with that is the potential upside, because you don't see the rare mix of the traits that he has very often. You're seeing quarterbacks get shorter, et cetera. So, the rare mix of traits that he has means that there's room for massive upside. But again, you need the right person to teach them. You need to understand his learning style and accommodate the things that he does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Ooh.
If Dallas takes a tight end, Mavs fan, so we got someone in Texas, takes a tight end, which one do you like the best? Kincaid or Darnell Washington or Mayer?
So for me, for Dallas, so Kincaid, in everything I've done, Kincaid is the least tackly, right? He's not going to throw a block. He's not going to add more to your offensive line. Dallas needs to beef up their O-line a little bit more than others. Now, I love the idea of giving another pass catcher. I mean, Mayer to me is the most well-rounded tight end, meaning he's the guy he's a 3-down tight end. You can play him in any position. He's going to catch passes. I don't think he's going to be available at 26. In fact, I don't think Kincaid will be available at 26 too. But by the way, Darnell Washington isn't oh shucks, we're settling for number 3, right? He's a really great tight end who in another class would have been a number 1. So for me, he's a little less polished than Mayer, but has those same sort of multi-purpose traits, which is what you're really looking for, as opposed to Kincaid, who's really more of he's not as much of a blocker.
Right.
So the answer is, I think Darnell Washington would be a good pick.
So I guess I know the answer to this question, but drink more water, as a reminder, also wants to know. So Kincaid or Washington?
If you have a good, if you're the Lions and now the Lions trade away their corner, so it's unlikely they would be able to get one of these tight ends. But if you're the Lions and you have a good O-line, then you want Dalton Kincaid. If you need a little bit more help beefing up your O-line, then you want to go Darnell Washington.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we got one more, and then I'm going to switch gears a little bit. So drink more water again. Why are running back projections so inconsistent? Players like Fournette, CEH, Najee Harris, and Josh Jacobs are considered first-round picks, but players like Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, and Kenneth Walker aren't.
The reality is people have a perception that the position. So I understand that argument from a top 10 pick, because the way the rookie pay scale breaks down, the top 10 have there's just a higher amount of money and guarantees that go along with it. The other ones it's the perception of need. I think people have done a good job of I think we've gone too far away from running backs. I think, it also is, by the way, availability of substitutes in the draft. If you have, Kenneth Walker is a good example because he didn't have a lot of pass catches last year on Michigan State, obviously in Seattle now. He didn't have a lot of pass catching experience. So I can understand why someone would say, maybe you put a second round grade on him because he's not a 3-down. We don't know if he's going to be a 3-down back or not reliably, right? He's whatever, right? We saw him just run for Mel Tucker. Right. But at the end of the day, but other guys who are more multi-purpose, like I think it's like how many quarterbacks are going to go, how many defensive ends, like those top 5 positions I told you about, how many of those are going to be available. And we've had some really superstar wide receiver classes over the past 3 seasons. And so you've been seeing more and more wide receivers really get pushed up. And you need corners to stop wide receivers. So it's just more about like how many premium position players do you think you have? And like I said, and it's not sexy, but O-line has gone really downhill in terms of what you have. So the few that are really good, people are really trying to pony up for, and they need to, because there's not as great of tackles available to you in the second or third round anymore. It's just not.
Plus, I think we also are in a league that's like, I think you just mentioned, it's just a pass-happy league. So the idea of a guy carrying the football 25, 30 times a game, that's becoming obsolete. We're looking for a guy that runs out of the backfield. We're looking for a guy that we can hit on slants and things like that. We're not just looking for guys that are just bell cows, that can just carry the football 25, 30 times a game. So when they're doing that in college, we can't expect that to translate into the pro game because the offense has just become so much more advanced.
Yeah.
If we forget, just ignore like the eye test and the things, where we know better, just from an analytical standpoint, are teams better off with kind of running back by committee or having the traditional bell cow running back? Have you kind of
give you like a really unsatisfying answer? And I'm going to tell you that like you can't live in a vacuum. So you have to know who you are. Meaning like if you have a really good O-line, you have a lot of different, and you don't have as strong of a quarterback, then running by committee is a really smart plan, right? Like I'm thinking of the 49ers, like strong O-line, really great position skill players. You can afford to get, you have to do, there's 11 players playing on every snap for your team and 11 for the other. So you have to really like know what you have. You can't try to make this ideal configuration. If Derrick Henry falls to you, then you take Derrick Henry and you figure it out. If Lamar Jackson, you structure your offense to make him work.
Right. Sure.
It's not a very satisfying.
No, I knew you.
No, it is. It is though. It is though. It is though. It is though.
Washington, the Commanders, kind of, sort of, in principle, sold. Kind of, sort of. The last time we spoke, you told me about, what you want to do. So am I going to be seeing you as president of football operations for the Washington
Commanders? There's actually a very good president of operations there.
I'm trying to get you that job. I'm trying to get you somewhere.
I appreciate that, but we went to University of Chicago.
Of course. Is there anyone you don't know?
Well, this is a pretty small world. So, but no, I think it's really great to see the Commanders take. I was like a little afraid we were going to get like the Jeff Bezos like Amazon like thing, and it was going to be like this big to do. It feels, look, 76ers. It feels to me like now you have someone who's really like they know how to run organizations come in, and that one needs a lot of cleaning up. So like that feels like a good move. That feels like something where it'll end up being better.
Well, the Bezos logic doesn't work, unfortunately, because Bezos was he was a part of that group that kind of blew the lid off of this whole thing with Washington and what kind of nonsense was going on there. So for him to buy the crew in the process of doing that, I think that would be a problem. So he would definitely be out.
The Washington Commanders, brought to you by Amazon Prime. I can see it, the players delivering packages to your door. So that's not a bad thing. I'm gonna ask you a question. There's one more question from the room, but how would you rate your basketball knowledge?
College or NBA?
NBA.
Not as strong as college right now. I used to be far more tapped into the NBA than I was, but college I kind of keep as my hobby still. NBA I know enough, but I'm not sitting here, I'm not writing papers on stretch fours anymore.
Plus, with this question, But this question that you get ready to ask her, Tone, but this question you get ready to ask her is obsolete because she went to the University of Chicago. So I already know where you're going.
Quiet. I have everyone that comes on has to answer this question. The greatest of all time.
The greatest college or
NBA. The greatest NBA player of all time.
Jordan.
Oh, what did you expect? She went to the University of Chicago.
I would have said it no matter what. But I will also say Chris Chelios is not a Blackhawk. He is a Red Wing.
You have Chris Chelios as a Red Wing?
Yep. There's Chelly's Chili in Detroit, and it is wonderful. He is a Red Wing. See ya.
All right. Well, I love Chris Chelios, so maybe I need to do that. Oh, I know. Let me ask this question first because Jake Thomas sent us a question. So let's hear this. As a Dallas Cowboys fan, why do Dallas Cowboys fans always have to tell you as a Dallas Cowboys fan? Is Tony Pollard an every down back, or should we look for a running back in the draft?
I feel like both. I think Tony Pollard is an every down back. I really like his game, but I think that the way this O-line is going right now, I think you need to figure out, like, this is not the same Cowboys O-line that we've seen for years and years and you think of as really, really scary. It just isn't. So I think the answer is, yeah, Tony Pollard could be out there, but I wouldn't put it past him, especially with how good Dak Prescott is at, manipulating people with his legs and figuring out like just extra yards. Like a lot of different running looks would be a really smart strategy.
Also think it's different too, Tone, when you are now the featured back. You look a lot different when you're now the featured
back. We're gonna find out who he is. So now this is the last question, then I'll let you go and take care of Gordy. Next year's draft is in Detroit.
Yeah, I know.
Where you're from.
Kelly's Chili. We can go.
I'll be there. And I was going to say, because you were talking about the Zoom earlier. I'm like, all we ever see is each other like this. I will be there. Will you be there?
I hope. We're doing a lot of stuff digitally now, like NFL Plus. We actually are doing a new show on NFL Plus on the first night, and we're only sending one desk to the draft. Usually we have two, so it's going to be a little different. I'm really excited to do it, but the bad part is it's not in Kansas City, it's here in LA. So I don't know if that'll change next year, but I definitely remind my bosses regularly of where I'm from and that I would really like to go back. So
is my good friend Marianne, is she still living in Michigan?
She's not. They live in Arizona now.
Live in Arizona now? Oh, okay. So I can't even.
Thank goodness. She'll come though if it's in Detroit. But they can't. No more shoveling snow. My dad's put in enough years shoveling snow. I mean, he worked in Detroit he drove from Lansing to Detroit for many years. So enough of that terrible weather.
Smart plan. That's a good idea. All right. So you said there were some other shows coming on. So I'll let you where obviously we can see on the NFL Network all the time. Yeah. I know you do a bunch of stuff with other things. So give us a little bit. So we're just doing a really great NFL Plus integration for the draft. So, it's behind a paywall, but it's going to be pretty fun. And actually Gordy might be making a surprise guest appearance on that too, which is very cute. And then on Saturday and Sunday, we'll be alternating between our Draft Central, which is another companion sort of second screen. This one, it appears on fast channels and NFL.com. And then also some of they'll throw to us in LA from Kansas City. Yeah, that's this year's NFL Draft, April 27th.
It is 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, 2 weeks from today. So you know what we'll have to do? We're going to have to do a little live coverage on the NFL Draft in 2 weeks from today because we'll be
like we did last year.
If you guys want to throw it to us and we can give you some horrible advice, like feel free. We are available. I feel like there was a clip somewhere when you said something, and I wish I would have remembered it. That we're gonna clip it. You said something really good. This is why I use my pencil. I'm losing my mind. But yes, you can check out the NFL Draft. That's April 27. Cynthia Frelund, NFL Network. If you need any advice on math, analytics, pretty much dog care, check out Cynthia Frelund and say hi to Marianne for me.
I got it. She'll say hello back to you. Have a great day. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you. I learned a lot today. Thank you very much. Yep. Absolutely. No doubt.
Marianne's her mom, by the way, in case you
she's what? Oh,
Marianne, in case you didn't know, Marianne's her mom.
Okay.
And so when we first met, I see this random person follow me on Twitter. And I don't have a lot of Twitter followers. So it was strange for me. I'm trying to find. There we go. I'm trying to find the size that works. And so I see the same last name, Frelund. And I'm like, who is this random person? And she goes, oh, hello, how are you? I saw your show with my daughter. It was lovely. You guys had a great interview. It was so good. And she was so sweet. And I'm like, is this like, she goes, oh, I'm her mom. And I'm like, so I text her and I'm like, hey, is this really your mom? She goes, oh no, 100%. Yes, she's my mom.
Right, of course.
So yeah, she was super nice. She was so awesome. So do you feel better about the Niners? I didn't realize the Niners didn't have a first round pick.
No, we do not, Tone. But I do feel better about my boys because our core, the core that we have, I'm not tripping on the first round pick because our core is under contract. We still got Bosa under contract next year. We got Purdy under contract. We got Trey Lance under contract. We got the majority of our defensive guys at our core are under contract next year at minimum. So I think we're good. I think we're good.
I have a feeling the Bears are going to trade down again. I really have a feeling they're going to do that.
Here's what can't happen, Tone. You can't entertain the quarterback logic. I think that the fact that you already traded down, I think you already ended that, right? So if Anthony Richardson is on the board when you pick, that's not something that you can entertain. You can't be like, well, he's on the board. Should we be? No, because you already made it clear that you straight at quarterback. That's why you traded down. So to trade down again, are you saying that you are straight? Are you not straight? I mean, which one is it?
Okay. Well, listen, hey. Well, that's enough football for today. Let's get back to basketball. We were talking about Josh Giddey.
Yes, we were.
In OKC. And I'm with you. I don't watch a lot of Thunder games. But every time I do, I'm like, who is this guy? Why is he so good? Because he was shooting. He just got hit. I don't know if you saw that play where he got hit in the groin, and he's about to go shoot his free throws, and I was sitting there. I'm like, does this look like an NBA player? Like if
you didn't see him on TV like, and you walk past him in the airport, you'd be like, that's exactly. Or a doctor. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, maybe depending how. Yeah,
that's exactly what he looks like to me. But Tone, his game is really simplistic. It's not a lot of fancy stuff. It's not a lot of nonsense. He knows. You and I have had this conversation when I asked you in the past, Tone, how many guys know how to play basketball? And Josh Giddey is a guy who knows how to play basketball. He's not just he's not just a guy that's out there with immense talent. No, he actually knows the game. He'll hit the right guy on a cut. If he's open, he'll knock down open shots. Stuff like that. He knows the situations in the game. He looks like he's a lot more advanced than other young guys. So, like I said, I don't watch a lot of Thunder games. I haven't watched a lot of Thunder games. But when I do, I'm particularly watching him.
Yeah, particularly. No, so how far? So okay, so how far do you think OKC can go? I guess that's really the question, right?
I think they lose to Minnesota because I don't think that they can give you that same effort offensively that they gave you against New Orleans, where you're going to get 89 points from 3 of their 5 starters. I don't think that that's going to happen. Plus, I think that they're so small on their front line. As good as Jalen Williams is, I think he's overmatched with Cat and Rudy Gobert. I just think he's overmatched with those two guys. Now, don't get me wrong. I can appreciate Josh Giddey. I can appreciate Lou Dort as a defender. But when I think about what Minnesota has done with Ant, when I think about what Minnesota has done with the rest of that unit, I think Ant's going to play better than what he played against the Lakers. I think we're going to see a different Ant. I think we're going to see a different Cat. I don't think that we're going to see an all-time great Cat, but I do think that we're going to see a different Cat. Now, against Oklahoma City, I think that they should handle them, Tone.
All right. You want to go to the other game?
Sure.
All right. So there was another game yesterday.
Don't blow me away with your enthusiasm, by the way, Tone. Okay, don't knock me over. Don't knock me over with your enthusiasm. Oh, by the way, guys, just so you know, Tone is actually a Laker fan with the screw face he got going on right now. Right? He's not actually a Toronto fan.
Can we clarify that from the panel today? Because I didn't.
Let's make sure we're clear.
There's a lot of people in the chat. They're like, "How many teams are you a fan of?" I'm like, I've made this very clear. I am a lifelong Laker fan, but I was born and raised in Toronto, and I am now living back in Toronto again. And so I have a rooting interest in my home team. I also get a lot of perks from our friends in Raptorville. And so, when people take care of you, you take care of them back. So I want my home team to be successful. The New York Knicks, I hate the New York Knicks. I've never liked the New York Knicks, but I believe that the NBA is better when the New York Knicks, because don't forget, I also grew up looking at the Garden as the mecca of basketball. And to see them stink, I'm not just saying they stink now, but for a lot of years, seeing them stink really hurt. I want them to be good. And that's why couple of years ago, this, I put the word out to James Dolan and I said, hey, I will be your general manager. And if I don't get you to the finals within 5 years, I'll give you all your money back because I just want to make you relevant and good again. And so there's no fandom there. It's just, I want the Knicks to be good. I'm from Toronto, so I root for them. But I am a Lakers fan. If there was a three-headed battle royal to the death, I'm rooting for the Lakers. I don't care if the other two teams die. I'm okay with that. All right.
Just so you guys know, Tone became a Laker fan because of none other than Mr. Irvin Magic Johnson. That's how he became a Laker fan.
Yes, absolutely. And don't ever say nothing bad about Magic because we will fight. Magic, look forward to you coming on the show.
Yeah.
Look forward to having you on the show, Magic. Look for that coming soon. Okay. So Chicago, I'll be more enthusiastic because it's not that it was a bad game. Chicago Bulls, Toronto Raptors. Raptors the better team. Raptors at home. Raptors have a 19-point lead. And they blow it. And they blow it. And they blow it. And they lit a little, I don't know, 12-year-old girl.
That went on yesterday. Yes, that did happen.
I just want to ask you, if you were trying to do this job, and every time you went to say something, I just went, how long before you just hung up on the stream?
Hey, Tone, knock it off. All right, yo, enough. Knock it off, yo. I'm trying to work over here. Knock that off. Okay, I'm trying to work.
I'm not blaming her. She was the MVP of the game.
Yeah.
But dude,
so much so, Tone, just so you know, she's gotten an offer for, I believe it's American Airlines, either American Airlines or Delta, that given her an offer to fly her to Miami.
Of course.
For free to the game.
You think Miami is not going to have someone there being like, hey, can't do that.
Okay, first and foremost, I played hooky. My father okayed it. I'm not getting the day off of school again.
Yeah, fair enough.
He okayed it the first time. No, you're going to school. Go to school. Absolutely not. No.
Is American Airlines, they're based out of Chicago? Is that why? Because that would make sense.
They got a hub in Miami too, so.
Oh, well, that's not good for business.
It's not. It's terrible for business, as a matter of fact. That's why
that's more like I said this to you guys earlier. I was like, I don't blame, or maybe I said it to someone else. I don't remember. I don't blame her. She was there supporting her dad. Right. So I'm all for I'm not all for what she did, but I get it. But an usher, be like, hey, that's inappropriate. Please stop. Or to her mother, maybe not to her directly, to her mom who's sitting next to her. Hey, these people around you paid, forget the players. These people around you paid $6,000 for their seats.
These seats are not cheap. No, they're not. Expensive. Yes, they are.
Can you just it was all you could hear. Yeah. I'm so glad I was supposed to, supposed to be at the game. Things happened. I couldn't go. Mm-hmm. But I talked to some people who were there and they're like, oh my God, it was deafening because you could imagine you could hear it in the telecast. Imagine how loud it was when you were there.
Especially if I'm sitting in if she's in row 6 and I'm in row 8, yo, what's going on over here?
Yeah. You would think, even DeMar kind of said, he was like, I checked on her to make sure she was okay. Cause once I realized it was her, I was like, is someone stabbing you? What is going on?
What's going on up there? So,
but okay. So move her off. That was horrible. Have you seen a work collapse?
If you look at the numbers, Tone, there's no reason Chicago should have even been in this game. They got destroyed on the backboard, right? -14 on the glass, -8 on the offensive glass, right? I think Chicago at one point was 2 for 11 on the long ball. I think they shot the long ball at barely 30%, right? Barely at 30%. So with that being said, Van Fleet, the way he was rolling in the first half, you would think that it would have continued. But it went to pieces in the fourth quarter, which I'm on record saying this, Tone. I don't think you win in the NBA championship with Fred VanVleet as your lead guard. I said that about Kyle Lowry. Yeah. If you get the right pieces around Kyle Lowry proved that if you get the right pieces around him, that could happen. The problem with Toronto is that they didn't upgrade that roster in the front court, which would explain why Chicago destroyed them on the backboard last night. They still are small in their front court, right? So Van Fleet, he just basically goes the other way in the fourth quarter. I think he was 1 for 6 and 1 for 4 on the long ball, right? And not just him, right? Not just him. We're looking at this Toronto team as a whole. So OG Anunoby, when you are, and I believe it's in the infamous words of Lupe Fiasco, if you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear because the camera's here. So OG Anunoby told me, Scotty Barnes told me earlier in the season, he's the best defender in the league. Then OG Anunoby told me he was the best defender in the league. Well, prove it. How do you prove it? DeMar DeRozan, and not just DeMar DeRozan, but also Zach LaVine are now going off. So is there any way that you could slow this down? Because otherwise, Zach LaVine's going to go for 30 in the second half like he did. And that was the difference in the game. And it wasn't like he was knocking down the long ball with regularity because he wasn't doing that, Tone. All he was doing was putting his head down and going to the basket. And because you don't have any rim protection in Toronto, that's going to be the difference in the game. And that was the difference in the game.
All right. So first, let me remind everybody, we're going to do our first round matchups. We're going to answer your super chats, so send those in if you want them, and then we're going to give you the link, and we'll bring you on to see what you got to say. But I'll tell you why I think they lost. The easy stuff, of course. Everything you said, the 18 of 36 from the free throw line, which I've brought up a couple of times. They've had bad free throw shooting nights throughout the season, and I've said that's going to be a problem. They've had bad shooting nights from the field. I told them that was going to be a problem. Right. But here's where, today they did their exit interviews with the press, right? And they all said wonderful things about Nick Nurse and how much they love Toronto and they want to stay. Everybody wants to stay. Everybody wants Nick Nurse to stay. I don't buy it, but fine. Here's my problem with the game, and I'm going to put it squarely on Nick Nurse's shoulders. They have a couple of guys that come off the bench who are specifically Chris Boucher, Precious Achiuwa, who are very good defenders. Chris Boucher, a very good shot blocker. Very high energy. And when they have an 18, 19-point lead, I love when Nick Nurse, because he does it sometimes, and then time he's done. I love when he brings those guys in because they are not the type of bench that lets that 19 go to 15 or 12. They're the type of bench that extends it to 24, 25.
Oh, keep that energy going. Yeah.
So here's what happened last night. I'm going to read you some numbers. I'm all about my numbers now.
Yeah.
Pascal Siakam, 42 minutes. OG Anunoby, 42 minutes. Fred VanVleet, 42 minutes. Scotty Barnes, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Jakob Poeltl, which I still don't know how that spells Poeltl. Jakob Poeltl,
I don't get it either, though.
37 minutes.
Right.
Gary Trent Jr., 17 minutes. Chris Boucher, 7 minutes.
Why did these guys play?
Precious Achiuwa, 9 minutes. Will Barton, 2 minutes. And that's it.
That's it.
So let's take out Will Barton because it's 2 minutes. He went 8 deep, and those 3 that he used played a combined 30 minutes between the 3 of them. That's not how I'm sorry, you can't do that. You have a deep team. You have that energy and defenders and scorers off the bench. Right. That's you can't do that.
And you've used them, and you've used them in the past, and if you've been successful. And I understand, Tone, that when you get to the playoffs, you do shorten your rotation.
Yeah, you shorten your bench, absolutely.
I get that.
7 minutes?
I do get that part. Yeah,
like that. Just I think that really was. I hate to say it. I know the professional athletes they should be able to play 48 minutes. But when you're up, this. When you're up 20, that edge tends to slip a little bit. You get a little complacent. We've seen it. Why you think so many 20-point leads evaporate in the NBA? It's so easy. I'm not saying it's so easy to score, but it's so easy to get on a run. It's a game of runs that if you don't bring in those guys for that energy, you can't do it.
Right. I didn't understand that. And again, when I look at that Chicago Bulls team, that from the numbers standpoint, there's no reason why they should have won that game last night. No reason. Right. Toronto handled them in almost every aspect of the game. They did.
You want to go to the first round matchups, or you want to do super chats?
Yes, sir. Let's do some super chats first, Tom.
Super chats first. All right.
Yeah, let's do some.
I'm going to start with my favorite person in the whole wide world. next to you,
Mhm.
Ara, who says,
Ooh.
"I agree." Ara's my assistant coach on my youth basketball team. Shout outs to Ara. What's up, buddy? I agree. Play-in tournament should go. See, smart man. But that would be sad for the play-in god, Patrick Beverly. Is Patrick Beverly the play-in god?
He might be. You remember last year in Minnesota? You see what happened last year when he was in Minnesota?
Somebody else agreed.
I'm telling you, boy. Pat Bev jumping on the scorers table, getting Minnesota in the playoffs. I mean, give me a break.
Oh boy,
he's elevated the legend. Yes, he has.
All right,
elevated the legend.
Sports PSP, our guy, better power forward, C. Webb or Amari Stoudemire?
Webb, I think Webb was more talented. I think Webb was not just more talented. I think he was a better player. The knock on Chris Webber, and I said this in the past, when the bets got higher, he cheesed up. There was no reason when you watch him from a talent standpoint, just like when I watch Cat, there's no reason why when I watch him, I'm looking at him thinking to myself, why isn't Chris Webber first team All-NBA every year? What's the problem? But I watch him in the playoffs. I watch him when things get more intense, and he just folds. And I can't get to the bottom of why that is, because from a talent standpoint, he was fantastic. He was fantastic.
Some people just don't handle pressure as good as others. So I will say I'll say C-Webb is a more talented. I don't know if this is exactly what you said, maybe, and I'm saying it in a different way. C-Webb is the more talented player. Mm-hmm. Amari Stoudemire was the better NBA player.
Well, here's the thing,
because of those lapses.
Well, he was a better passer than Stoudemire. He was a better rebounder than Stoudemire. Yes. I think he was just as good, if not a better scorer. I think Stoudemire was a better transition player, but I think C. Webb was right there when it came to being a transition player. But I feel like when the bets got higher, Webb would just cheese up, and that's where if
you look at just the numbers, the analytics,
man.
Oh, C. Webb clears.
No,
but does he? Yeah,
no.
Absolutely. What do we got? Mavs fan.
Here's the thing. I'm not a fan of the play-in tournament. This in-season tournament, this is all a money grab, guys. Just so you guys know, this is all a money grab. This is to boost revenue, not just boost revenue, to boost viewership. So if you get an in-season play-in tournament and you got a team like the Charlotte Hornets who are, I don't know, let's say they're in 10th place, and they end up getting hot and going on a 6-game win streak, and it's only a 1-game elimination, and they end up winning this play. They win this in-season tournament. Well, that's gonna increase viewership. Not only is it gonna increase viewership, it's gonna increase the narrative that, well, maybe Charlotte is better than what we think they are. Not only is that gonna increase viewership, that's gonna increase a whole bunch of other people talking about them. So it's a money grab at the end of the day. I don't hate it. I mean, I don't love it, but I understand what it is.
I feel like since today, I've had a lot of people reach out and say, here's all the wonderful things. It's more basketball. Don't you love basketball? Yeah, I do. I absolutely love basketball. In fact, I remember I told you, I think they should extend the season to 90 games so that they can play Eastern Western Conference, more games between the Eastern and Western Conference.
Like that too, to be honest with you.
Keep the 65 game make that 65 games for eligibility for all awards, all statistics, everything, so it's consistent. Because right now I think it's 58 and 65. There's a difference. So move it to 90 games. So I'm all for more games. I don't want to get into it again. I don't like the fact that I can be 10 games behind you after 82 games and still have a chance to make the playoffs when I clearly, and someone was commenting, I don't know if I got to this earlier, was commenting and said, well, what if, oh yes, this was the one I told you about, if when things are close. And I said, okay, but what if when things are far? What if when they're below 500, all those things? And then he tried to bring up and said, well, what if the 9th seed team, what if their best player gets hurt right before at the end of the season? And wouldn't you rather have, the 8th place team, wouldn't you rather have then the 9th place team with all their starters playing instead of the 8th place team? And I said, well, what if the 1st place team loses their best player right before the end of the season? Should we bump them down to 4th?
No,
that's
not the way that works.
You got to think of the flip flop.
Right.
So I don't like.
So
I don't like it for that reason. I don't like it for that reason.
How would you feel if we cut division games? So, like, for example, Toronto's in the same division in the Atlantic Division. They're in the same division with Boston and the Knicks and the Nets. What if we cut division games to, instead of playing each other 4 times, they played each other 3 times and then added more Western Conference games?
Yeah, I like that too. I feel like for me, I don't even like what's the point of the divisions? Really? At this point, I think it's East,
I think for seedings too. For seedings matter.
Like for tiebreakers and stuff.
Yeah, seedings matter. Yeah.
Okay.
For stuff like that.
I was gonna say there's other things you could do for tiebreakers, because you could, again, if they go from 3 to 4 or from 4 to 3, well, now it's an odd number, so you'll have a series winner. So whoever won the head-to-head matchup gets the tiebreak. Whoever has the better conference record gets the tiebreak. Whoever has the best, if it's still a tie, whoever gets the West thing, and then then do a play-in. If at the end of the day you have 2 teams that have tied everything, okay, play. Don't flip a coin. Play. I'm okay. There's your game you can add. But I'm gonna let that go. I'm gonna let it 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 go. Alex Pickering. My favorite chill quotes are him calling someone a goofball or getting into the meat and potatoes of the game.
That's when it gets good, right? So when you're sitting down and you're having a meal, like when you get into the meat and potatoes of the meal, I mean, the appetizers are good, but when we get into the meat and potatoes of this meal, that's the best part of the meal. I think
that's incredible because I know you're vegan, so to say. Because I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I'm in. For you, it's like, I get into the beans and potatoes of it. It doesn't sound as good as meat and potatoes. So you got to go
get into the green beans and the spinach.
And the green beans and
spinach. That doesn't really sound right, does it?
Fluent Junior, as Fluent Junior would say, vegetables, ill, poison. Yeah. We got to teach them. In my opinion, there's a big misunderstanding about analytics. Simply put, analytics are more specialized stats for specific situations, just more data.
And I think it also, again, allows you to go back and look at, when you're talking about stuff like this, it allows you to go back and look at specific players. And, well, wait a minute. Okay, we're talking about true shooting, for example. I'm not really that big a fan of true shooting, Tone, because what true shooting does is it basically averages out everything. So if this guy goes 9 for 28, but he goes 11 for 11 from the stripe, well, it makes it look like his true shooting is higher, when in reality, he's really not that efficient. But if you actually sit down and watch him play and you saw where he shot from, where he was the most effective, then that might change your mind. That's why I think that's where the analytics come in and they matter.
Listen, true shooting, if a 3 is worth more than 2. That's really what it means to me.
Right.
Because here's the thing. This is why I have a problem. True shooting. If I shoot 5 for 5 from 3, it shows 150%.
See that?
Because the baseline is 2 points, right?
Right.
If I go 5 for 5 from 2, it's 100%. Well, that makes sense. I'm a math guy. That makes sense.
Right.
Here's where it doesn't make sense. If I go 5 for 5, let's say I have no field goals. Every time I went up to shoot, I got fouled.
Right.
All right. And I go 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Do you know what my percentage is?
100%.
113.
113%.
It just makes no sense.
Wait a minute.
It makes no sense. Now I get it. It's about efficiency, and I get it. But the problem is, it doesn't take into account other things. So I get it. They're trying. Look, the math guys are trying to make, to give us stats to answer questions.
Right.
I just think anyone who uses one stat, be it field goal percentage, true shooting percentage, if you're only using one thing, you've already lost me. Like I always say, like people say, well, what's your criteria? I go, everything. They go, what do you mean everything? I go, everything. As much information as I can find. So I will look at the advanced statistics, the regular statistics, my eye test. Tell me what your opinion is, so I can hear that too. Like the situation, the teammates, the era, the pace. I literally, if I can get 1,000 pieces of information, great. 2,000, even better. And that's why when I say to you, I tell you sometimes, like I've run some numbers or I've added more data in, and now I've changed like who I have here or there. It's not because, and you always go, did their games change? No, it's just I've found more information, or I've gone back and watched it again and was like, oh, I didn't realize, he made 2 baskets because someone threw the ball full court, it bounced off his head and went in. Well, I'm not giving him credit for that. Right? I'm not giving him credit for that. So, ridiculous, but you know what I mean, right?
Right.
So those are the things.
Right.
So let's do this. We got some more super chats, but let's do the East, answer some more super chats, do the West, and then invite you guys that are in the chat. I'll send you the link and we'll get you in too.
Yep.
All right. So what do we got? You want to just do the ones that are set, or do we want to make?
Let's do the ones that are set, Tone.
Okay. So the ones that are set, we have. So 1 and 2, we're going to ignore. So we're going to talk in the West. We're going to talk about Philadelphia 76ers versus the Brooklyn Nets.
I think Brooklyn has enough to keep games close, but I don't think that they have enough to get over the top. And I think Joel Embiid is the difference in that series. I think they beat them in 5 games.
What did I say? I feel like I had said 4.
Yeah.
I have no faith in the Brooklyn Nets, and I know that I think they're a better overall team. Like the pieces,
right?
How they say the sum of the pieces are greater than the whole. I feel like they're a better team, but they're they're still, listen, they got rid of 3 superstars or superstar caliber players, because you know how I feel about giving out the superstar name.
I do know that
3 superstar caliber players, potential superstar, and now what they're missing is a superstar. Like if you throw one superstar on this team,
right,
man, they're dangerous. That one person who's going to close it up.
Very
now,
much so.
Is it who does everybody keep telling me I'm crazy because he's going to be that guy? Is it Bridges?
Yes,
is going to be that guy. He might show us in this series that he is. I don't know. I get it. The regular season, he did this, he did that. Everybody tells me about the regular season. I have to see. Show me. That's all. And if he shows me in the playoffs, then I'll come and say, wow, that dude's the guy. I haven't seen it yet. So I'm with you. I think Philadelphia. Pretty easy in 4 or 5. The Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks. We disagree on this one, right?
Yeah, I think we do. I got the Cavs in 6. I think that Donovan Mitchell is the best player in this series. I think that Jalen Brunson is going to give them a lot of lift offensively, but I don't think that he's just going to walk past Darius Garland. I think Garland is going to give him everything that he's looking for. But I think ultimately, that New York Knicks front line is going to be the difference in the series. Not the New York Knicks, I'm sorry. The Cavs front line is going to be the difference in that series. The Knicks don't get anything offensively from their front line. In fact, Mitchell Robinson and Hartstein, they don't really give you much offensively, as opposed to Cleveland, where Mobley and both Jared Allen, those guys can both score. Not only can they score, they both defend at an elite level. And I think that ultimately they're going to wear down the Knicks throughout this series. I think they beat them in 6 games.
Can I give you I agree. Actually, I agree with that. I think I actually have the Cavs as well in 6, maybe even. I feel like the Cavs, it reminded me of Fluent Jr.'s picks. Can I tell you his picks?
What do you got?
So he has Cleveland beating New York in 5. He has Philly beating Brooklyn in 6.
Yeah.
He has Milwaukee. He said it doesn't matter who they play. Milwaukee's going in 5 games they're in, and Boston. So he's got then Milwaukee and Cleveland, Philadelphia and Boston. And the reason why I want to bring up the second round, I know we're just talking first round. I want your opinion on this, because he said, can you share it and let me know what everybody says? And I said, okay. He's got Boston beating Philly, and he's got Boston facing the Cleveland Cavaliers in the Eastern Conference Final.
So he got Cleveland beating Milwaukee. I think that. I don't think that Cleveland beats Milwaukee, but I think that series is a lot more competitive. What it is, Tone, is what you say every year. So this team is a year away, and then the next thing you know, they're in the NBA. Then the next thing you know, they're in the NBA Finals. Well, that's how I feel about Cleveland. I feel like Cleveland is a semifinals team at best, but I think next year they really challenge for the Eastern Conference Championship. I just don't think that they have enough to beat Milwaukee. I think that Milwaukee's rotation guys, in addition, even though Milwaukee's got the best player in the series in Giannis, I think that their rotation guys are going to be the difference. So that front court that Cleveland has that wore down the Knicks, they're not going to be able to wear down Milwaukee. And not only are they not going to be able to wear them down, I think that Milwaukee's got the best player in the series. As far as Philadelphia and Boston, I only got one thing to say about that, Tone. Joel Embiid said it best. This is not a rivalry. They kick our ass every time we play them. Period.
Well, I have Milwaukee and Philly in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah.
So we'll see. All right, to the West, and then we'll do ours for just the one, and then I'll tell you his again.
Mm-hmm.
So the first round we got Sacramento, Golden State.
I think that series. I think that series is a 6-game series. I think Golden State beats them. Tone, like I told you, I think the road to the NBA championship goes through the Bay Area. I think that until somebody knocks out the Golden State Warriors, they're the team to beat, and I think that. I think they handle Sacramento in 6 games. I think it's a hard fought 6 games. I don't think that they're just gonna walk right. I don't think they're just gonna walk right past Sacramento. Nah, but I do think it's a hard fought 6 games.
I'm with you on Golden State, but I think it goes 7. And just to everybody, I don't hate Sacramento. I just like Bug and Ox. I actually really like Sacramento, not just as a city. I love spending time there. I loved when I was there. I used to spend a lot of time there when I lived in San Francisco, and then on the other side of the bridge for a while. So I'd go to Sacramento all the time. I love Sacramento, and I like the Kings. I remember how amazing it was to watch games at Arco when Chris Webber and Doug Christie and Vlade, when that team was running, like that stadium was nuts.
Fantastic, yo.
But I think the Warriors. I do think the Warriors are just more playoff experienced, and I think that's what ends up giving them the win in 7. But like I said, I think Sacramento will, at the end of the day, win or lose the series. And like I said, let's assume they lose in 7. Like I said, this should be seen as a success, and everybody in Sacramento should look at this as a building block because their players are still young, they're really good, and they might be 2 years away. So maybe next year, when I say they're a year away still, making
the playoffs is a success. I don't want to hear anything from Sacramento fans. Y'all ain't been in the playoffs in 17 years.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a great season. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So there is no. Well, it was disappointing because we didn't win it. You haven't been in the playoffs in almost 2 decades.
And listen, you got a bad matchup because there's 4 or 5 other teams that I would have said they would have beat in the first round. It's unfortunate that it's Golden State.
This has been a success, no matter what happens in the first round. And Mike Brown won Coach of the Year too. Tone. He was announced.
Yes, today. Congratulations to Mike Brown. Well deserved.
Absolutely, he's the Coach of the Year.
Does this mean when people say LeBron never had good coaching, Mike Brown and Eric Spoelstra? So now he did have good coaching, right? Because they're both in the Hall of Fame. He had 2 Hall of Fame coaches. Just FYI, throw that in there. Phoenix and I get in trouble, so I'll say the Los Angeles Clippers.
The Clippers, right?
Los Angeles Clippers.
Let's put do we believe, Russ, that this whole beef thing is over? Do we believe that? Because I don't.
Oh,
I don't believe it.
Hell no.
I want to say, Russ, I know you've probably put this behind you, what has happened between you and KD years ago when he went to Golden State. But I think that there's a part of him that still is like, I think that there's a part of him that still feels like that.
Do you know what this is?
Peace.
No, it's game 2. That's how long before Russ throws a punch at KD. No later than game 2.
Before they get into it.
There's definitely going to be words exchanged, but I am telling you, KD's going to hit him inadvertently with an elbow, and because he's shorter than him, it's going to hit him in the neck or something. He's not going to like it, and I'm telling you.
I think it's going to be competitive, Tone, and again, Russell Westbrook is one of the more fiery competitors in the game.
Yeah, I love that. I've always said I love his heart, I love his energy. So many things I like about Russ. I just, like I said, I wish he. I know that basketball, but I always make that baseball comparison. He's a pitcher that can throw 110 miles an hour. He just doesn't know how to throw a changeup.
That's it. That's all he got. Gas. That's it. All he got is heat. That's all he's throwing at you. And I would like the Clippers in this series, Tone, if Paul George was available. I would like them a lot more if Paul George was available. But because of that firepower that Phoenix has offensively, I think that's going to be the difference. All
right. So Fluent Junior's pick. He just turned 9. He just turned 9 a month ago. For those, because people were asking how old he is. And Players' Choice Kids. I know I keep saying it's coming. It's on me. I just have to have set up time to make it happen. But it's coming. He's got Denver losing to OKC in round 1.
No. Sorry, young fella. It's not happening. Mm-mm.
Ooh, hell,
That's spicy though. That is spicy. That's the whole can. That's the whole can on it. That's not like sprinkles. Yes, that's the whole can on it. All of it.
He's got Phoenix over the Clippers.
Yep.
He has Golden State over Sacramento.
Mm-hmm.
And this I almost kicked him out the house. He picked Memphis over the Lakers.
Even if let's take Memphis and Lakers
living in the shed.
The question was asked earlier. Well, what's the biggest upset? If a 7 drops a 2, that's an upset.
Yeah,
I don't care who it is that's playing. The fact that it's the Lakers, that doesn't matter. If a 7 plays a 2,
that's big.
If a 7 drops a 2, that's an upset. No matter where you're playing. So if the Lakers would have dropped these dudes, that would be a big deal. A huge deal.
But now he's got Memphis. So because people say you're feeding him, you're no, I clearly can't brainwash this kid enough.
Right.
So then he's got Phoenix beating OKC, and Golden State beating Memphis, and then he's got Phoenix and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals, which I think is pretty.
I think that would be to see Phoenix and Golden State in the Western Conference Finals. I think that would settle a lot of debates.
I love the idea of Kevin Durant playing against Russ in round 1 and potentially against Steph Curry and etc.
I think it would settle a lot of debates.
That's great and great.
Oh, it's awesome television. Also, Adam Silver would be like, "Yes, let's do that."
Yeah, that's his dream match. Remember when? Why am I drawing a blank on his name? Who was the commissioner before?
David Stern.
When David Stern said something like, about the Lakers and someone that would be a good matchup to see the Lakers and whoever in the finals, and he got blasted for it.
Well, David Stern, he knows that's good TV. Like in 2000, Indiana
Adam Silver's smarter. He won't say anything.
Right.
I think he likes it. All right.
We all know what it is.
So that's our picks for the East and West. Okay, so I'm going to send you the link as we go through the rest of the super chat. So the link is coming. If you could do me a favor to those that are coming in, if you could just drop in. Once you're in, you'll see that you can private chat. Just send in the private chat what you're going to talk about, so I know how to intro it. So there's the link in the chat to join us. Let me just finish off these super chats. So we went through all of these. The one down thing is once I read them, they don't disappear. So I got to make sure.
Right.
Hey, you want some music while I'm looking?
No, I'm good. But you can put music on. We gotta just so you guys know, we just got a new intro and we got a new outro. You want to check it out? It's dope too. It is dope. So
and it's courtesy of our friend Xavier Top Floor. Go check out Xavier Top Floor.
Xavier is super dope. Yes, Xavier Top Floor is dope. Just so you guys know, he is super dope. No doubt about that.
Okay, that's the football stuff.
My Nigerian brethren. Yes, sir.
All right, here we go.
He is dope.
I'm getting worried for my Dallas Mavericks in the offseason. I hope we keep in Kyrie. It's just interesting how it hasn't worked with him and Luka. What should the Mavs do this offseason?
Okay, Jake. Actually, it has. The problem isn't Kyrie and Luka. The problem is that you got rid of your two best perimeter defenders and you don't have a starting center. That's the problem. It's not Luka and Kyrie. See, the problem that we have is not just you, Jake. I don't think it's you. I don't think it's you specifically. But the problem that we have is because we have such a high scoring league, people think that if you just throw scorers together, it's going to work. That's not the case. You still got to have guys who play defense. You still got to have guys who rebound. And when you don't have that, when you playing against other teams that have what you have, and then you don't have the other stuff, it's going to get exposed. And that's what's going on with your Dallas Mavericks. You don't have the other stuff. Now you got to build the other stuff around these two guys.
I'm sorry. I don't like it. I said it when the trade happened. I don't like Kyrie and Luka on the same team. Now, I don't know what I like, to be honest with you. I'm glad that I'm not making a pitch to Mark Cuban to be the GM of the Mavs, because I don't know what I want around Luka. he's very difficult to build around. But I do know that I don't think it's Kyrie. I don't think it's Kyrie. I'd like a, again, I'd like a rim protector. I'd like a defender. I'd like a big. I'd like a couple of shooters. I don't think I like Kyrie there. It doesn't, I can't picture it working. And what I've seen them together, it hasn't. And again, it was too early. They didn't get enough time together. So that might be part of it too. But there wasn't even a moment where I was like, oh, see, this could work. Right. The only time I saw it working was like, okay, when Luka was like on the court by himself doing stuff, and then he subbed off, and then Kyrie came in. I'm like, okay, now he took over. Okay, I like that. You got two number ones on the court all the time. Right. Well, that's not realistic though, right? So
well, it is though, Tone. And the reason why, it is. And the reason why it is because that was the knock on the Dallas Mavericks. Luka didn't have anybody else that he could go to. But so to have a guy like Kyrie Irving that I can go to primarily for buckets that I don't have to create offense for, that works when I do have a rim protector. When I do have another,
they both defender. Do nothing when the other has the ball, though.
Well, that's the idea, because Luka does so much when he's got to create offense for everybody else.
So you're okay with him just standing around saying, "Okay, go, your turn."
That's why I like that, because now he's got a guy where he could just give him the basketball. You do something.
We disagree on that one. Double P. Who has the bigger fraud? Who has been the biggest fraud this season? I'll get through this. Miami or Minnesota? P.S. Chill. Maybe an overreaction, but Bam might be a fraud. Clint was the better center Tuesday.
Yes, he was. Absolutely, he was. So we'll start with Miami. The fact that Atlanta exposed a huge hole in Miami, which is they aren't that talented. I mean, as good as you are to get to the playoffs, if you are talented deficient, that's going to show. And that's what happened. You can't get far in the playoffs, and I got 6 or 7 undrafted players, because that means that Jimmy Butler's got to play like Jimmy Butler played last year or the year before that. And Jimmy Butler's getting a little long in the tooth. I expected Bam to be better this season, which he was. Bam was actually better this season. However, I think that with the way that offense is ran, I don't think that Bam was as effective as he should have been as he should have been against Atlanta. And that was because, I mean, he said it himself. We got to figure out more ways to get me the basketball. So he's got to get himself more involved. But to your point, Double P, I mean, for lack of a better term, he got his ass kicked against Clint Capella. Clint Capella kicked his ass.
I told you, Bam is on fraud alert, 100%. Christopher D. Better player, Mitch Richmond or Tim Hardaway Sr. got into a heated debate on this one on a previous podcast. Am I crazy to say I think it's Mitch Richmond and like there's a gap?
Yes, I think it's Mitch Richmond, and I don't think it's close, to be honest with you. I think it's Mitch Richmond, one of the better two guards in the league during his tenure. I mean, he had a 6-year stretch where he averaged 26. I think he had a 6-7 year stretch where he averaged 27 and 26 a game, something like that. He made the All-NBA team every year. That's who Anthony Edwards reminds me of. He's just a more athletic version of Mitch Richmond. That's who he reminds me of.
I really like Richmond. I think Mitch Richmond is one of the more underrated players. And Tim Hardaway, look, everyone remember Tim Hardaway and the crossovers and Mitch Richmond was a better basketball player.
He was.
Start bench cut. Nate Dogg, Benny Siegel, Cassidy.
So, first of all, in terms of just straight ball for ball, Beans is not seeing Cassidy. He's not. So, I'm starting Cassidy. I'm benching Beans. And the reason why I'm benching Beans is because Nate Dogg is a hook singer. That's all Nate does. He sings hooks. So, he's not really a rapper like that. I mean, that was his forte. He was a hook singer. So, I'm starting Cassidy. I'm benching Beans. And I'm cutting Nate Dogg.
I just hit the east side on the LBC on a mission trying to find. See, you need that. So I'm a start Beanie, and I'm gonna bench Nate Dogg, and I'm gonna cut Cassidy because I think together they make better music. I know they asking who better, but I do it different. Angie in the mix, Angie Carr. Last one, and then we'll jump into our first guest, and then we'll get back to the super chats. In season tourney. NBA starting to look like Euro soccer. How about whichever team wins the game, they get to stay home for every game after until they lose?
I don't know if I hate that. I don't know if I hate it, Tone. I don't. I don't know if I hate it.
Why do we have to make everything so gimmicky?
Because it's for revenue. That's why. It's not because to make the game better. No, it's for viewership. This has nothing to do with making the game better or making it more competitive. No, this is for viewership. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
Remind me we're at Double P's question. Let me write it down so I don't forget when we come back to the super chats. Double P older. There we go. All right. Double P older. SB Talk Sports. He's gonna put somebody in a damn book, or he's gonna convince you about Kobe. I don't know which one. What's that, man?
OG need to be in the book because I can't believe that. I came to talk about the play in at the end. You said cut Nate Dogg.
He a hook singer. That's what he is. He's singing hooks. That's all. Imagine if Twister was just singing hooks. We putting Twister on there. Imagine if Kanye was just singing hooks.
Name me 5 Cassidy songs right now.
Okay, the joint that he had, Hotel with R. Kelly. I'm a Hustler, which is the dopest joint. I got my drink and my 2-step. Let's see, what else does he have?
C H I.
I could say the same thing. I could say the same thing about Beans. I mean, Beans don't have a lot of hits. Mm-hmm.
No, Nate Dogg is the original hook. He's like the original T-Pain, the hooks. I can't believe you said that.
Yeah,
I thought you appreciate. We done had our first encounter was hip hop. It wasn't even sports.
Right.
You stitched my video when I said about Scarface.
Right.
You remember?
Here's the difference, though. I'm a fan of lyricists, and bar for bar, none of them dudes are singing Cassidy. None of them.
I mean,
Beans is not
you
singing
said Cassidy freestyle because that's my brother's favorite artist is Cassidy. Cassidy
bar for bar,
freestyle is a different breed.
Bar for bar, Beans can't see him. Nah. I mean, if you're talking about hooks, you're talking about songs. All right. I mean, that's something different.
Now, freestyle is crazy, but back to the sports talk. Yes, I 100% agree with you guys. I think the play in at the end is dull, is boring. You encouraging the regular season not to matter more. Everybody keep asking why, what can we do to make the regular season matter? Make the players play. I think what you said, the minimum for the awards, that was a good positive step. Mid-season tournament, I don't think it helps because what is your reward? Only reward I can see from a tournament going is like, okay, the bottom CTs, you play for the number 1 pick in the draft. That might be entertaining to see Detroit, but now you see a team like the Dallas Mavericks and Luka, they're gonna tank and whoop all the trash teams to take number 1 pick. But I don't see no benefit of it. I think the play-in worked for the moment that it was made for the bubble. But besides that, I'm not entertained by it.
I feel like people don't realize that's a great point because I've heard this idea before too. Let the teams that don't make the playoffs play for the first pick. You know how dumb that is because the 9th place team. Right, a team like the Mavs would be like, "Oh, we're 8th, but we're gonna get smoked.
I'm gonna smoke everybody.
I'm gonna smoke everybody, and now I get the first overall pick. So now okay, let's assume this year. I'm not saying he's a guaranteed stud, but now you're gonna have Kyrie, Luka, and Wemba. Like, or imagine it's a year like when there's like a Shaq or a LeBron. So who was the 9th place team in the East? Who's the 9th place team in the East?
So I don't know.
It Toronto? It was Toronto.
It was Toronto.
Yeah, so Toronto wins it, and now they get, like I said, now they add Shaq to that team. Are we good?
Adam Silver's putting a kibosh on that quickly. Like, no, we're not doing that.
That would have been the problem. That's the whole point that I'm saying. I don't see the point of it. Like the same because I told OG, I was just like, yeah, and I was arguing with Dub too because the Heat finna play the Bulls. I said, what's my reward for winning out the play-in to get swept by the Milwaukee Bucks? Why are we rewarding trash teams? I don't appreciate it. I don't think it's no benefit of it. Yeah. I think you are not telling me no reason to make the regular season matters. The players need to play. I don't want to hear no excuse. Oh, you getting paid millions of dollars. You getting better treatment than Isaiah, Kareem, Dr. J, everybody, and they play all the time. You know, I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. I believe during the 80s and 90s. I can say maybe early 2000, 80% of the league loved the game of basketball. Today, I think only 40% of players love to play basketball.
Well, the reason why is because
it's a business now.
It's money. It's money.
Yeah,
it's always been that.
It's always been money. But if you think about it, back when it was you're getting paid $500,000, $1 million.
Yep.
You played for more for the love. Now you're getting 50 million, 30 million a year. I gotta think of other things too.
Mm-hmm. I think Ben Simmons quit the game. You never tell me an era that y'all grew up in. You seen the guy pull a Ben Simmons?
Never.
Yeah.
They would have been out the league. He would have been out the league. And plus, when you look at these contracts, like you just mentioned with the 80s and the 90s, basketball was all they had. I mean, if you saw Dominique Wilkins or this guy in a commercial, that was a big deal. Like today, you're seeing that stuff all over the place.
That's
so,
normal.
But see, there goes my point with paying to play, right? Like if Ben Simmons was like, "Hey, you got this contract, but you're not getting your paychecks unless you play games,"
right?
I think we see a different Ben Simmons.
Yeah.
And
then there's crazy part about with the WNBA and the women college basketball because it's about promotion and rivalry. Because they was like, why the WNBA don't find no good resources and making money, but the women's college basketball is flourishing because you got the rivalries, the players are making money. Because the number one pick, the girl from South Carolina, she making less money now than what she made in college.
Isn't that part of the reason? What's like Caitlin Clark? Isn't that why she's
and Reese? That's why they're staying there. That's why they're not going.
Why would I play 4 years in college?
Why would I go to the WNBA and make less?
I'm gonna tell you this though, because people don't realize this. We are the consumer of the entertainment. People forget basketball is entertainment. We are the consumer.
Right.
After a while, we're gonna get tired of the BS that they giving us. Because I miss the rivalries. I miss the head-to-head Jordan's Isaiah. I don't look. You can treat it like WWE if all of I care. When you on the court, act like you hate them. When you get home, y'all can crack a beer. All of I care.
For
Bring
real.
the rivalries back.
For real.
That made it matter because I know that on January the Bulls play the Pistons. It mattered because we don't like these boys. Or when the Bulls play the Celtics, we don't like it. Or the Lakers play the Celtics. Even if y'all crack a beer or meet the family after, that's cool. Fake it. All of I care. Bring true basketball back.
SB, I'm gonna leave it at this. I can't remember being more excited about a series than in the 1993 Eastern Conference Finals between the Bulls and the Knicks. I was so charged for that because I knew that it was going to be serious.
Come on.
I knew it was going to be serious.
Maybe we only people got the heart for the game. I
knew it. Man. I knew it was going to be serious.
Man. But appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. I know I got people. Man. Andreas, give me the thumbs up if you're ready, brother. Let's see. What am I doing here? Just let me know, Andreas, when you're ready. Andreas wants to talk about how to build a team. Oops, wrong person. There he is.
Yo, can you hear me? Sorry,
what's up, brother?
Yeah. I just wanted to talk about a little bit of what you guys were saying about the plan because I think you guys make some good points. What I will say is I feel like I don't know. Did one of you guys say it? Like there are certain situations where it works, but on the whole, it's like pointless. I think that's something.
Yeah, what I had said was for everybody who makes an argument that what about when it's close, when it's within a game, when it's whatever, or
yeah.
For every one of those situations, you're going to have ones like last year where the guys are 10, 15, 16 games behind. And there's no point. Why have a regular season?
So this is the thing I was saying. I was like, in the grand scheme of things, you're probably both teams are probably going to be a first round exit, right?
Most times. So what I will say is I just feel like the only two reasons you can have for a play-in is pure pettiness, and just pure like development and ticket sales. So what I mean by that is with the Bulls, the reason why for the Bulls it makes sense, right, is because they don't own their pick this year, right? It's going to Orlando, I believe. So the further they get in, if they get in the playoffs, it's just to be purely petty.
The higher that pick goes.
Make sure they don't give that.
The lower that pick goes, not the higher. The lower that.
So it makes
pick
sense for them, in my opinion. Just and also attract free agents, be like, oh, okay, look, we're closer to winning or whatever. Right. With OKC, I can actually understand why they're going to do it because they've got too much young talent. Actually, they've now got an abundance of young talent where they can't really tank because there's just so many teams with no talent like San Antonio now.
Right.
So it might actually be more beneficial for them to just actually get that experience at this point, and just the more games they play in that kind of environment might actually be more beneficial to them. Apart from that, all the other teams, I don't see any reason for them to play the play-in.
I'm with you. I'm with you. All right. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Good to talk to you, brother.
We got True Hero wants to talk about. Did he put it in here? I felt like he did. James Harden being a top 5 offensive player. Do you mean all time or right now?
I stand on my word. Nope. Let's jump straight into it. I woke up this morning, for me, 8, boom, boom, boom. I missed the 12 show, and while I'm on y'all shorts, it says someone had said in the super chat, is James Harden top 15 offensive player? Chill said no because of his playoff thing, and Mars was saying no. And I said 15. What? Flo, I just want to say a quote real quick, and then I'm going to explain why. Chris Paul. Y'all know Chris Paul, Kobe, LeBron. Chris Paul said, quote, y'all can look it up. He's the best offensive player I've ever seen. I mean, seriously, he can drive, he can shoot. He got ball in there. It's going to be a tough night for whoever it is. I don't care who you are. Chris Paul saying that says a lot to me.
All right, so hold on. Pause right there. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question. Kobe Bryant said Tony Allen is the toughest defender he's ever faced. Is Tony Allen a top 5 defender all time?
No, but the reason
what they say doesn't necessarily make you.
This is not the same. The toughest could mean like he just gives him the hard times. Chris Paul saying he's the best I've ever seen. That's a little different.
So Kobe Bryant said he's the toughest that he's ever seen. That's now put Tony Allen in the conversation where I got to listen to people telling me Tony Allen is a top 10 defender all time. I got to listen to that now. Kobe said that. Right?
And I think it's the same thing with Chris Paul.
Chris Paul tells you that James Harden is the best offensive player that he's ever seen, which is nuts to me because
I get what you're saying, because now it's making me have him higher than he's supposed to be.
Right.
I do need to explain that. I get what y'all saying.
Maybe top 5 all time. Wow, that's putting a lot on it, bro.
Why did I feel when he started saying I woke up this morning? I was just like, I got myself a gun. I got the music in my head now.
Let me explain my logic on why.
All right, tell us.
Scoring as a scoring peak, led the league in scoring. I think it was. I don't know if it was 3 or 4 straight years. I think it was 3 straight years. Then someone led next year in 2020. 4 scoring titles he had. He's the only player to lead the league in scoring and assists more than 2 times. No one else done that. James, Kobe, none of them ever done that.
Right.
And I think just those 2 alone should just seal him as a top 5 already. If y'all want me to keep going into his
I want you to tell me your top 5.
My top 5 in no order is LeBron, Jordan, Magic, Harden. I had Curry and then Chill moment we had that debate back, and you made me take Curry out about Curry.
I didn't make you take him out. I just poked holes in your logic. That's all I did. I didn't make you take him out.
You had me rethink that, and
that's all.
Harden, and I don't know if my 5th. I might say Kobe, but that's like around who the 4 is for sure. LeBron, Jordan, Magic, Harden. I don't know. I'm gonna say Kobe for now.
Right.
But yeah. So if y'all could let me know if y'all agree or not.
So when you say, like you just said, he's the only player to again
lead league and scoring and assists more than 2 times.
Lead the league and scoring and assists more than 2 times. I mean, Oscar Robertson went 30, 10, and 9 for 8 straight years. 8 straight years he did that, and he also won a league MVP just like James Harden did. So as a rebounder, as an assist man, who also led the league in assists, I think 6 or 7 times, Oscar Robertson led the league in assists and averaged 30 a game for 8 straight years. So James Harden led the league in scoring in a wide open league. So when you talk about an offensive player, I mean, we're talking about a guy like Jabbar. I mean, how much better is an offensive player than Jabbar? I mean, Jabbar averaged 30 and 15 and almost 5 assists. He did that. I don't think James Harden was a better offensive player than Shaq. So when you're talking about offensive players overall, I mean, James Harden was a phenomenal offensive player. But when you're talking about the all-time greats, Shaq, you talk about Oscar Robertson, you talk about Magic, you talk about Bryant, you talk about Jordan, you talk about James, guys like that. You talk about Steph Curry.
I'm gonna hit you with a question then, because you said Mars, Flo. I think you was there, but I don't know if you said it. Y'all say I could put 15 dudes over Harden. 15.
I didn't say 15. I ain't going as far as 15. No, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna go as far. That might have been
a Mars take. We have like 4 minutes left.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go as far as 15. But it's definitely. Top 10. I don't think he's top 5 though. Okay, no, that's putting a lot on it.
Not top 5. Okay, there you go. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. I'm gonna do, guys. I see you guys there. I'm going to get to you, Sebastian, Montreal,
Mhm.
and context in 1 second. I just want to knock off a couple of super chats because, I like to go through them all. Which older legend deserves more recognition today, Elgin Baylor or Dr. J?
Elgin Baylor. We don't talk nearly as much about Elgin Baylor as we should. I mean, the dude made first team All NBA. You know how I feel about being an All Pro, Tom? I mean, he was first team All NBA like 10 straight years. What are we talking about? The problem is that he was on that Laker team that was running into that bomb squad Boston team. That was the difference.
I remember when he passed. Me and Coach were doing our show, and we talked a lot about Elgin Baylor. Even got word from his daughter, and I was like, I'm gonna talk more about Elgin Baylor. I'm gonna talk more about Elgin Baylor because people don't like. I remember, and why I remember is because I always make this. I always want to poke the bear with LeBron James. And I always go, what are you talking about? He's not even like what is he, third in terms of scoring for small forwards? What are you talking about? People are like, what are you talking about? He's not third. And I go, yeah. And like Kevin Durant and Elgin Baylor, and they're like Elgin Baylor, like they don't even know like how good Elgin Baylor was, and half
awesome.
Remember when he did part time? He was serving in the army and playing ball.
The year that Wilt Chamberlain went 50 and 26. Elgin Baylor finished fourth that league in MVP votes, and he went 38 and 18. And he had a day job. He was in the Army Reserve. He only played 48 games that year.
38 and 18. Just think about that.
I got a day job, and I'm almost 40 and 20.
And I'm fourth in MVP. All right, Alex Pickering. 40% from 3 is the same as 60% from 2.
Is it?
Okay,
that's interesting.
But how many times did I get fouled from 2? And then when I shot 70%, 75% from the line, don't count that, eh? And when I did get those fouls, because when you shoot from 2, it's 15% chance that you're going to get fouled, 1% on 3. How many of their big men that I'm trying to get out of the game did I put in foul trouble? Oh, I didn't think about that either. And when I missed that 60% from 3 and the rebound kicked out past the 3-point line, and the other team got that rebound 60% of the time that I missed and went on a fast break for an easy dunk, how many points did that cost me? Oh, yeah, I didn't think about any of that. There's more to the game of basketball than the numbers, bro. Yes, your numbers are correct, but it doesn't take into account real life. And you know what that does?
Now you're more fluent.
Yes, sir. Corbin Van Bergen. That is a strong name. Corbin Van Bergen. You could be like that could be like a vampire.
Sound like a mob leader. Like
I like it a lot.
Van Bergen.
Analyst. Oh, I like what he said too. Appreciate it, Corbin. Thank you. Appreciate it. Mavs fan, y'all need to get Ticket on the show. He's comedy.
You get enough a Ticket. You get enough. You get a Ticket on the panel.
Listen, I like Ticket. Let's be very clear. I tell everybody this. I like Ticket. I didn't like him at first. I like Ticket now, and we cool. But dude, we see each other 5 days a week. Like, it's enough.
Mavs fan, let me let you know something right now. Ticket is necessary, but what you don't want to do is you don't want to oversaturate yourself with it.
Yeah.
Want to do that.
Listen, chocolate's delicious. You don't eat it for every meal.
No, you don't, yo.
Just sample.
Get kind of corny after that.
Yeah. One gotta go. Samuel L. Jackson, Will Smith, Morgan Freeman, Denzel Washington. On a side note, I think Morgan Freeman is the best of the bunch.
Will Smith is out. Of those 4, Will Smith is out.
Will Smith is out,
and he's fantastic. But
that's
he's out.
Too bad because he's fantastic. Can I tell you something else? Samuel Jackson has a beard in like more movies than anybody else, and he didn't start acting till he was 40.
Forget a beard, Tone. The best line that I've ever heard. You don't know who Samuel L. Jackson is? No. Think about every movie that's ever been made. He's the black guy in it. That's him. Period. Yeah. We're done.
And he did start. So for all the old heads, old heads that, man, there's time. He didn't start acting until he was 40.
Yeah. Give me a break, yo.
Can Lauri Markkanen be a first option on a championship team?
No. I don't, until he shows me that he could do that, no. Let's relax on Lauri Markkanen being a franchise player like that. I'm not sure. You got to put some significant pieces around him in order for that to happen. Let's chill out first. He had a good year. Let's build on it.
Sebastian, you ready? Yeah, he said, "What up, Sebastian?
Hey,
what up?
Guys.
What up?
How's everything, guys?
Good, man. How are you?
What up?
I don't know about y'all, but I'm really looking forward to this postseason. Even though it's probably not as competitive as probably like 3 years ago, but I don't know. I'm looking at these matchups and they're looking fun, real fun.
Do you have one? Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I was gonna say, is there one that sticks out to you? But it sounds like you have another topic, so go ahead.
No, I was going that path. I was going to ask you guys from all the different matchups that we might get, what do you think will be our top 5 most fun matchups to see?
I actually think it's the other way around, Sebastian. I think this is the most competitive because there is not one clear-cut winner that you could go, yo, this team is it. This team is that. I could say the Tone 20 years ago, who beaten Shaq and Kobe, Tone, 4 times in a week? Nobody. Can I say that definitively about anybody in these playoffs? As much as I like Milwaukee, can I say that definitively about anybody in these playoffs, whether it's the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference? I can't say that about.
There's parity.
I can't say that about any of them. So to answer your question, I'm looking at this Sacramento Warriors series. I'm looking at the Phoenix Clippers series, that Lakers Memphis series. I'm really digging that one.
Okay, how about this? Let me ask the question in a different way that's easier. Is there any first round matchup that you're like, nah, I don't care?
No, there isn't.
Atlanta and Milwaukee. Oh,
No,
Atlanta, Boston.
I am actually looking forward to that Atlanta Boston. And the reason why Jason Tatum's production goes down. That series might be a lot more competitive.
We have some people saying Atlanta in an upset.
I'm not going to go as far as to say I think Atlanta's going to beat them, but I think that series is going to be a little bit more competitive than you think.
Right.
I do think that. So yeah.
There you go. Which one? If you had to pick one, which one are you most excited about?
In the entire playoffs or just first round?
First round.
All right, first round. I'm gonna go Clippers and Suns.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like that one too. I like that one too.
All
right. Thanks, man. Oh, hey, wait. Aren't you trying to get Chill to come to?
Yeah. I was going to tell you.
If FAU and Miami was in the national championship, I was getting on a plane and coming to Houston. That next day, I was doing it. Yeah, that was happening.
Every morning, I go shoot around in the courts. I want to see you there, Fluent.
If you want to lose in a game of 21, let's go. All right, brother.
Yeah,
see you guys. Good night, guys.
All right, yo.
I'm nervous about Montreal Scream. I don't know what it says. It says Montreal something. Did you put it in the chat what you want to talk about Montreal?
If he's been waiting that long, what you got, brother?
Teams that blow it up this season. Okay, I like this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so be more specific. What do you mean?
Do you guys have any teams in mind that you think are gonna blow up this offseason?
Oh, like blow up their roster and start over?
Yeah, or just like main pieces in their team that are just moving off.
I don't know how much longer Miami's going to hold on to Jimmy Butler. I mean, I don't know how much longer we can build around him. He'll be 35 next year. Yeah. 35 years old. And they got to bolster that roster with talent, and they don't have that. So I think you're going to see a completely different roster next year with the Miami Heat.
Is moving off of Dame considered blowing up Portland?
Yes, Tony, he's a franchise player.
So I would say in the West, I think it's Portland then is the most likely, and in the East, even though they're in the playoffs, they're the 7th seed. I don't know why. I feel like there's a lot of changes coming in Atlanta.
I feel about Chicago too. I don't know why.
Oh, maybe Chicago too. Yeah, depending on what they do. If they lose here and they're not in, yeah, maybe. Yeah, and a dark horse would be Toronto. I feel like Nick Nurse is gone. The guys in the building that whisper to me say he's 100% gone. I don't know why I don't believe it though, because they're people that should know are telling me this. But they say he's 100% gone, and at least two of their starters. So some combination of Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes. 2 of those 4 will not be on the team next year.
Okay.
So that might be blowing it up.
I want to add a little quick question to what you guys said before. You said if the Miami Heat move off Jimmy Butler, what team would you guys think he would be best fit in? Because in my opinion, he'd be so good in Philadelphia now. If he I
was just going to say that. I love him back in Philadelphia. I love him back up there. They should have never let him leave in the first place.
That's what I was going to say.
Harden and Embiid. Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that never should happen. I agree there. All right, man. Montreal. Yeah. What is? Why do I only? Your name gets
Montreal screw job.
Montreal screw job. Oh man, they screwed Brett. That was horrible. That's a great name.
I'm a Canadian, of course. I'm mad.
Yeah. Do you know this story?
I
Joe?
Yeah, I watched the interview.
Okay, let me give it to you a little bit, and you tell me, correct me if I miss any pieces, because I haven't watched wrestling in a long time. So Bret Hart, from Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Bret the Hitman Hart, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, was the WWE or F, I guess at the time, champion. His contract was set to expire that night, that Sunday night at a pay-per-view.
Yes.
And they weren't going to renew his contract. And he said, hey, no problem. I'll come back on Monday and give back and turn in the belt. And then because he was taking a job with WCW, their number one rival. Vince McMahon and Shawn Michaels and Triple H and some others were like, we're not going to let this guy leave as champion and show up to this other show, our rival, with the belt and be like, ha, 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 I've left. Right. So even though the script said that he was going to win the match, HBK, the Heartbreak Kid, puts Bret Hart into a sharpshooter, which is his own move, and the ref rings the bell right away.
Over.
He
didn't even count.
It was in Montreal too.
And it was in Montreal, hence the Montreal Screwjob. And they screw him out of the belt. He spits on Vince McMahon, like nasty spits on Vince McMahon.
They apparently got in a brawl in the
there was a big fight after.
Punched him in the face.
Yeah, everybody said, "Oh, we don't know. We didn't see it. We didn't know." Like a bunch of the guys were like, "We didn't know." Later on, they would come on and say, "Yeah, we were all in on it."
Bret, and also Bret didn't want to lose the title to him because before
they didn't like each other.
Bret told Shawn that like he'd be fine losing the title with you and I'd do anything for you, And then Shawn, this is like Shawn Michaels when he was hated a lot, and he told Bret that I like what you're saying, but I want to do the same thing for you, which pissed him off really. Do you
watch PC wrestling?
Yeah, a little bit. I went on their show a couple times. Yeah.
Oh, have you? Oh, okay, cool. All right, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. I don't watch wrestling very much, but all right, context matters. It does.
Hello, fellas. Yes, sir. What's happening? What's happening, Cho? Fluent, we haven't chopped it up. Salute to you, my brother. I know I could tell just the way that you speak. I love your business acumen. I would love to pick your brain about your business acumen. I already know. I know where the money's at. You talk money. I can tell. It's not talking fluid. You talk money. Chill. We could definitely talk about boxing because I could. You know what I mean? I get in the ring. I used to box back in the day. The question I have for you guys would be, actually, I just want to get this off before I ask the question. How do you guys feel about, I know you guys were talking about the play, and I heard on the panel that you guys were talking about that you don't really want to reward it, blah, blah. Here's my thing. I want to just give a little counter to that. I think it provides teams like OKC a small microcosm of what preparation would be like in a one-game sample size, right? So now, let's say they win and they get to advance into the playoffs, right? And now they face against a number one team. Now you get to feel that it's not the same pressure, but you get to feel what that preparation feels like. So now you're the young guys like Jalen Williams, they get some development. Josh Giddey, as far as reading and looking at the offensive reads, looking at how everything plays out. SGA is already gonna do his thing.
It gives them a glimpse into what playoff basketball would be like, and that's fair. But if they can't make the playoffs,
agreed. I know, but it does for a certain amount of time. It does ramp it up, and it kind of gives, you know what I mean, the preparation, the focus level.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, I'm okay with that.
Now here's the question I did have. The best trade options for all the teams in the playoffs. We don't have to go through all, but if there's anything that sticks out into your mind, like I proposed today for Open Gym, in my opinion, I think Bam should be paired with Cat. I think the Gobert thing is a flop. We all can see that Gobert with Cat is not a good move, but I think Bam with Cat would be the perfect complementary piece, because I think like we have a problem with Bam just not being aggressive enough, and I think Cat's shooting, Cat's offensive shot profile, different ability to make things, I think it would offset Bam's.
Who do you have playing the five? Because I would have Bam playing the five. To him tell me so many times, Bam's a 4, Cat's a 4. And I got
Here's the thing. I get what you mean by Bam's a 4. Traditionally, yes, to a certain extent, he is a 4. But paired with Cat, I think with the rotation and keeping J-Mac, you know what I mean? And I think they should have never got rid of Vanderbilt. I think getting rid of Vanderbilt was a slow move. But hey, that's neither here or there.
Since you brought up Bam, how you feel about Bam with Sabonis? Now he can play the 4.
Yes, but I'm not confident in Sabonis as a 5, to be honest with you.
He plays the 5.
He plays the 5. He plays the 5, but
he leads the league in rebounding.
Here's the thing. However, his rim protection isn't super elite.
That's where Bam comes in and helps, because I am a dirty work guy too at the 4. I don't have to primarily protect the rim, but I am a dirty work guy too.
However, Sabonis doesn't provide enough spacing.
Yes, he does. Sure, he does. Yeah,
really?
Yes, he does.
Because considerably, I don't think. I think the spacing. I think the spacing is decent, but I don't think it's elite compared to Cat spacing. I think Cat gives you way more spacing.
And but Cat disappears too much for me. Way too much.
That I agree with. I agree. I agree. Especially his legs. That's one thing we were talking about. Establishing posts, like down low posts. His legs are like this. What are these?
He just disappears too much for me. I'm good. So
I actually like, speaking of moves, if we're talking about Cat, I like Cat in Dallas.
You keep McGee though. You have to keep McGee.
Oh yeah.
No. Why not? Nobody. The reason why we are where we are is not only do we not have a starting center, we don't have a defender in the post, which was what we need.
They're not.
We don't just need buckets. We need somebody on the block that can actually defend the rim, that will rebound. That's going to help speed the game up. Because you know what our lead rebounder is? It's Luka.
Who are they going to get?
Turner?
5-man?
Turner?
Who's a defensive 5-man that they could get?
I would love to.
5-man. How about this for an idea? How about we call up Phoenix? Because we already know they got a discount on 5-man over there. How about we call up Phoenix and we go, yo, hey, big fella, how about you come over and help us out? We'll involve you more in the offense than they're doing over there. All we need you to do is rebound and defend and rim run. What you want?
Well, the thing is, I think the issue with Ayton is, what is his incentive? Like, I think that we have to get to the root of what is his incentive. Like, what is he trying to be Patrick Ewing? What is your play style?
First of all, I've been on a crew with Devin Booker. Now I'm on a crew with Chris Paul. Now I'm on a crew with Kevin Durant. You don't even know how good I am, because nobody has never actually made me the guy. So in Dallas, with Kyrie Irving,
how good he is. Him and Bam are both frauds. All right, we're gonna go finish up our super chats. Appreciate you, brother.
My brothers, have a good one. All right, pleasure.
Easy.
All right, these damn frauds. Here we go. We'll finish off our super chats. We're late, so what? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, JD? What are you gonna do? How much does Luka's inability to play off the ball affect his offensive game overall?
No, I don't think it affects his game off the ball actually at all, because again, he was so responsible for everybody else's offense, and just last year was the only time that it actually, when he had another guy who he could go to for buckets in Brunson, it worked. Now he's got a guy who he can go to for buckets in Kyrie Irving. Plus, he had a better defensive team. That's why it worked.
Listen, I think there's just certain players who aren't. They're nowhere near as good off the ball as they are on ball.
Mm-hmm.
So you just got to figure it out, right? Like LeBron is significantly better. I use him because he's the best, right?
Mm-hmm.
With the ball in his hand. So what do you got to do? You got to find ways to win with the other people around him who will not have the ball. That's it. You got to figure out how to play around him, and I think that's what they got to do with Luka.
Fact.
Start bench cut. Pernell Whitaker, Julio Cesar Chavez. This is definitely for you. Roberto Duran. P.S. Please push for PC boxing.
Chavez, I'm starting. Pernell Whitaker, I'm cutting. I am not ever putting anybody in a start bench cut that quit during the fight. I'm out on Roberto Duran.
He quit during the fight?
Against Sugar Ray. He quit. He quit. No mas. Everybody knows about no mas. He quit. I'm out on Roberto Duran.
I don't. You get to see you're the boxing guy. That's why I'm not in that conversation. Money incentives for players to play 70+ games. No. How about money detraction if you don't play those games? I'm so tired of more. You got to give them bonuses. They don't make enough money. No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Right. They make plenty of dough.
Angie, car in the mix. Harden benefited from fouls, flops, but when the league cleaned that up, his efficiency dropped relatively significantly.
It did.
He manipulated the system till the system got wise and said, not anymore.
He lived on the free throw line. I think he had a 5-year stretch, Angie, where he averaged something like 9 or 10 free throws a game. He lived on the strike.
Leaf Diggy got something to say. He says Tony Allen, top 5 defender at position.
So he wasn't as the 2 guard. He wasn't a better.
Let's just hear it straight from his own mouth.
So he wasn't a better defender than Jordan. He wasn't a better defender than Bryant. He wasn't a better defender than Sidney Moncrief. He wasn't a better defender than Joe Dumars. Let's see. When I think about,
he wasn't.
No, he was not a better defender than Joe Dumars. No way. He was not a better defender than Joe Dumars. Like I said, Kobe, Sidney Moncrief, Jordan, Joe Dumars. Let's see, who else am I thinking about in terms of defenders from the 2-guard spot alone? I'm drawing a blank here, but
I think it was.
Who'd you say so far?
Jordan Bryant, Sidney Moncrief, Joe Dumars. I'm drawing. Why am I drawing a blank here? Because I'm sure that at the 2-guard spot alone, Mikey he wasn't a better. He wasn't a better defender than Michael Cooper neither. So let's see. I'm leaving some people out. That's 5 right there.
I give you Michael Cooper, Jordan, and who else you said? And Sidney Moncrief.
He was a better defender. He was not a better defender than Kobe Bryant. No, he wasn't.
You sure?
No, he wasn't. And he was not a better defender than Joe Dumars. No way was he a better defender than Joe D. No.
I don't know. You
might be looking at.
I'll give you. Let me drop 2 more names and tell me what you guys think. Alvin Robertson and
not a better
Dwayne
defender than Alvin Robinson. No, he wasn't.
What?
And I don't think he was a better defender than Dwayne Wade neither. I'm not sure.
I'm
not sure he was a better defender than Wade.
I might give you Wade.
So top 10. So he's top 10, just not top 5.
I give you Wade as a 2-way player, but I'm not. I'm not giving that. But another thing I wanted to come up here and say before I got off, man. I already said what I said about the Bulls winning, man. I don't think they're losing, and the Pelicans they sold me, but I'm over that. But they definitely spent me, bro. Like I sat up there last night and definitely B.I. definitely got fouled and they didn't call that. I was like,
foul, Tone. I told you.
No,
foul.
B.I. got fouled. B.I. got fouled, Fluent.
It was a 4-point play,
he got
Tone.
fouled. Don't do that.
He got fouled.
Don't do that. He got fouled.
Tone.
He got
blow
fouled.
The whistle.
He definitely got fouled.
It's a foul,
Tone. To think that they was going to get screwed on their own home court to the Oklahoma City Thunder, I didn't see that coming at all. But, like, yeah, he definitely got fouled. Another thing, going into the what was
Oklahoma, just so you know, I got inside information from Fluent Jr. Oklahoma's making the 8th seed, beating Denver, and that's when they're going to announce the Seattle Supersonics are getting a team back. He's got the whole story written. It's a good story. I like it.
Salute to Fluent Jr., man. Salute to him. But I'm a little bit sick and tired of this. Let's restructure the roster business, man. Like one of the reasons why I was a big fan of this season, and this is probably the most basketball I watched in a long, long time in terms of like the totality of the season and the totality of the teams, man. Come on, I came in here having Utah and New Orleans in the finals at one point, man. Like it was that crazy. So, but don't put your head down.
He was screaming on me. I remember this. He was screaming on me like, "Yo, chill. You wrong about Utah." I'm like, "Yo, don't get sucked into that." No, they not. They are not. Do not get sucked into that.
Nah. I did. But Fluent. But I mean, not Fluent. Chill. That's how crazy the West was. It was up and down.
If you came in 20 games into the season, yeah.
Yeah, but it was that crazy. Think about it. Coming into this postseason, we got 4 legitimate contenders. 2 of them play each other in the first round. Suns, Clippers, and then we still got. If the Lakers finish 10th, you would still have them as contenders and going into the play-in. Why? Because they got LeBron damn James. Who cares? His old dusty ass. Get him out of the league. And then you got the Warriors who you still believe in, who you keep telling me about every time I come on your channel. You got to say somebody got to show them the door, and I'm telling you, and I'm going to say it one more time: the Sacramento Kings.
Until somebody do it, ladies.
Do you know what he keeps telling me?
Until somebody says it goes here, and it goes.
He keeps telling me.
To be the man, you gotta beat the man.
That's what the belt is.
They fraudulent. Guess what, Chill? They fraudulent men.
This what the belt is. This is what the belt is. You want it. This is where you gotta come get it. That's all I gotta say.
Ran, and then you're gonna have to deal with Bobby. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh,
As far as
I
the
do not
East-
want to deal. I do not want to deal with Bobby if they win. All right, Leaf.
All right, Leaf.
We got to bounce.
I'll get at y'all later. I'm gonna tell you. I'll talk about the East later. All
right. We got to bounce, but Dorian Clayton said, "Thank you for the super chat. Best NBA WWE playoff storyline for KD beats Clippers, Russ beats Warriors, Curry. KD goes to the finals to face the Sixers with Harden and wins in 7 games.
Can you imagine that?
Just knock out every one of his ex-teammates.
Can you imagine that? Just drop all of them, right? Can you imagine that?
I would have to. Would you? Okay, let me just say this, and then we're way late. Got to go. They're gonna start playing the music on us. You know how they do that at the Oscars?
Start flashing the camera.
Yeah. And wrap it up. If he were to do this, if he were to beat Russ, Curry and the Warriors, Harden and the Sixers, which would also mean Embiid and the Sixers, would you look at his career, his legacy any different?
I would have to, because one of my staples is the run that Olajuwon had in '95. So if KD were to do something like this and end up winning the Finals MVP, I would have to talk about him different, because I'd have to stay consistent with my logic when how I talk about Willis Reed, his run in the finals, his run to the finals, Olajuwon, his run to the finals. So I would have to do that. I would have to talk about him different.
Look at this. I got uninvited.
Sorry, Tone.
All right, on that note, this has been Fluent Chill. Go check out, if you missed Cynthia Frelund, she was up here talking analytics, the NFL. We'll catch you next Thursday. If you need to see more of us, tomorrow at 12 p.m. on the panel. Until next time.
Take it light, but take it.